All right, so I think the stream thinking about things ready to go. So hello everybody, Megan ZardX here, back at it again to give y'all another very exciting podcast episode. That being my ZardCast episode 105. My goodness, we are in the peak gaming season right here because, ladies and gents, we had Summer Game Fest, we had a State of Play, we had the Xbox Showcase, and to top all things off, the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2, all in the span of like what 5 days or so, Steven. No, so this is gonna be a jam-packed episode. We got a lot to cover, but it's gonna be a good old time. But Steven, how's it going, man?
It is going good. I just woke up from a nap myself, but honestly, it was kind of really hard to even do that because like the last few days I've been really tired, but I didn't go to bed. Like I stayed up very late the last few days because I kept telling myself, "Oh, well, I don't want to waste any time that I could be playing Nintendo Switch 2."
Eh, oh goodness, I only pulled one
That's
extremely late
genuinely
night,
what I
and that was it.
Yeah, it's genuinely what I told myself the last few days. Like it was like, no, I gotta stay up. I gotta keep playing Switch 2. Like that. This is another hour I could be spending playing Switch 2.
I mean, hey, you're
But
not
yeah,
you're
no,
not wrong.
it's been a really good. I'll share. Like I got tons of stuff to say about the Switch 2, the midnight event I went to, but we'll get to all that.
Yeah. All right, but yeah, so all right, so that's gonna there's not gonna be any pop culture segment stuff. No movies, no Marvel stuff. Like we got most of that out of our system last week though. So that's all we're gonna talk about. It's just a state of play. That's gonna be first on the docket. We're gonna roll over to the Summer Game Fest announcements, and then we're gonna roll over to the Xbox stuff. That's gonna be like phase one, and then phase two is everything associated with the Switch 2 in terms of the launch, the games we've been playing and stuff like that. Mario Kart World, our thoughts on that, and everything else in between those. So a lot to go over. This show is gonna be jam packed. So let's go ahead and get this thing on going though. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into the gaming news, starting with that state of play. Alrighty, Steven. So we started this off, and Sony, I think, was trying to pull a fast one on us. I ain't gonna lie, because they announced this stuff like what 2 days out in advance. They kind of pulled like a Nintendo, because we
They
already knew
always
for the
do that.
longest time. Like, well, yeah, I guess it's technically normal scheduling for them. Xbox always kind of gave you like a good long heads up, like almost a month out and stuff. And we knew when Summer Game Fest stuff was happening. Though it just felt like it was like almost last minute, because the fact that it was like right before the Nintendo Switch 2 was about to launch. It's the day before it, technically, or it could be the same day as what will be considered as the midnight launch, but technically not really. But I guess it depends on the time zones or whatever, though. But yeah, so we had that state of play. So we knew we were in for a good old time with that, though. And honestly, I'm just thinking of all the announcements they had. It wasn't necessarily a bad show, all things considering. They had a good handful of games that I personally liked, and I'm kind of curious because we talked about obviously the big major one, and we'll talk about that at the end. But I hadn't heard like your full, honest, whole thoughts on this state of play. I had the little list of the games that kind of stood out to me the most that you can see over here, Steven, in the Discord call though. And if there's something in there that you wanted to talk about or whatever though, then let me know if it's squeezing in between those. But I gotta at least talk about these right here. So
Yeah, I am genuinely shocked. Like I really liked this state of play. I genuinely think this was on par with some of the best Nintendo Directs in terms of the pacing and how they just got through every announcement and the actual like they actually felt like they were with the announcements that I didn't care about, they were kind of blasting through.
yeah.
So yes, I
So
have positive things to say about this one.
I was about to say, hey, you know what? I'll tip my hat off to Sony. I know. I think the major thing I think with this one show is just maybe some of the first party stuff, but what they got with third parties for the most part, it was hitting. So I think the first thing that stood out to me. Well, hold up here, hold up. Before we talk about the thing that stood out to me, the very first thing. What was that very first game that they showed off in this state of play? I don't really have that in my notes, to be honest. Though I know you
Okay,
remember what it
so
was.
they showed off Luminous, which is a very like renowned puzzle game. Like one of the biggest releases I've seen was on Switch. They had Luminous Remastered. It is a I don't necessarily know exactly how it plays. I haven't played it myself, but I just know that it is a very popular puzzle game that people do like, and that Tetris Effect developers are gonna make a fucking another hit.
Mm.
Like, come on, it can't be. Yeah, it's a puzzle game. Like, it can't really be all that bad. Like, it's Tetris Effect is pretty cool, and this is just gonna be the same thing, but like a different type of puzzle game.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, because at first when I was looking at it, I didn't know what it was until I saw the blocks, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's fine though. I don't know.
Oh
I
yeah,
wasn't
no,
seeing myself getting this, but yeah.
they were pulling something weird. Like one of our friends, Yoshi, in a Discord call, was basically thought, oh, is this like a prophecy of what's going to be in the rest of the state of play?
Oh, in terms of
Like,
like
because it was
good
like a bunch of
announcements or
weird stuff.
whatever.
Well, no, because it was like a bunch of like weird stuff at the beginning. Like they showed a guy in like weird flashes of like a guy in an astronaut suit and like this and that, and then they showed like some 8-bit stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and basically like I don't know if it was intentional, but a lot of those images they showed at the beginning of the state of play kind of correlate to games they announced later, at least from what I noticed. Which is
Okay.
kind of a neat thing. Imagine if like a Nintendo Direct did that, where like right at the beginning it kind of teases what they're gonna show next,
Yeah.
gets you thinking while you're watching it. Either way, though, uh, that Luminous game looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. All right. And I think it was shortly after that they managed to hit us with some final. No, oh, before I even say the name of it, the Square Enix logo popped up. And then every time that
Yeah.
Square Enix logo pops up, I always have to straighten myself up because you don't know you're gonna get something really good or something really bad. It's no in between. So it's like it's a
Well,
50
yeah,
50. It's like flipping the coin every gosh dang second. 'Cause every time you see that logo pop up, you straighten up just a little bit. And
it's
then
either a
I
Kingdom Hearts or a Foam Stars.
yeah, basically basically what we're getting at. So I was like, oh shoot, what they got right here? And I saw it was like a retro style thing. I'm like, huh, okay, okay. And then I saw a little strategy element kind of going on. I was like, wait a gosh dang minute, hold up a second. And yes, they said we done did it. We're bringing you Final Fantasy Tactics. I always heard good things about it. I just never spent the time to actually go through and play that game. And I like myself some strategy games. Steven, I love my Fire Emblems. I love myself some triangle strategy.
Yeah.
When they popped out that game on the Switch. And this is like the other kind of like bread and butter game that a lot of people really loved and talked about. So I was like, okay, I owe my time to at least dabble with this. So I'm glad that they managed to give us this. They did manage to give us a release date for it as well. It comes out on September 30th. And I was like, okay, we got an
Everything's
announcement like
coming
this.
out in
Hey,
September.
fall is gonna be kind of wild between
No,
September
I
and
think what
October.
they showed, well, we'll talk about it later, but Silent Hill F is like September 25th. And there's a bunch of other games coming out in September. It's so much in September.
Oh man. Yeah, no, it's gonna be all about time management, baby. So yeah, so when we got that announcement, I was like, heck yes, I'm all here for it though. I'm like, good, that's some great stuff. I'm really looking forward to that. So I was like, all right, well, this is gonna be one of them kind of state of plays, right, where we're gonna be pleasantly surprised. I'll say for the most part, pleasantly surprised. I think it was the theme for this state of play. Um, and then next up, we got like another look at Ninja Gaiden, Ragebound, and they finally gave us a release date for this. This one, Steven, was the one that's the one that looks like an indie style one, but it's like the platforming one, the one that we knew that was going to come out some point during the summer, and that's going to be the last day of July. So we got a release date for that now. So I think they first showed that off in the Xbox showcase, or not showcase, like a direct or whatever. That was earlier on in the year. So we finally got a release date for that. So that was cool. Nothing brand new besides the release date.
I'm instantly buying it.
No, I'm looking forward to that
Like
one
that,
too.
it's a really nice looking pixel game. It's gonna be really fun. It's probably gonna have really good music. Like it just looks like the type of game I'd enjoy. It's a very kind of simple thing to say, but yeah,
hmm So yeah, so
I'm
they gave
excited
us
for it.
that, and I was like, all right, that's cool. And then a little later on in the show, they managed to give us the Metal Gear Solid Delta, like I think one last good looking trailer for it. I can't remember, Steven. Did they actually give us an actual launch date before this? Or was this the first time we saw the launch date?
I think first time we saw the launch date. It's hard for me to remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because I think for the longest part we knew it was this year. Maybe they gave a window frame of fallish. But yeah, no, now we know the date when it's coming out. That's coming out in August 28th. That's a couple of days right before September finally kicks off, though. So I'm like, oh, it's getting stacked right there. And I want to
That is
pick that
the
one up on the PS5. I want to pick that one up.
that is the same day the Kirby Switch 2 edition launches.
Oh, goodness. I
I
know
think.
you said you wanted to get that one because I know you like some Kirby and Forgotten Land.
Oh, I'm instantly getting that. Yeah, like
Mm.
it's come on, it's 60 FPS forgotten that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I was like, okay, that was good. Got another look at that. Then they managed to get hit us with I'm pretty sure this was already announced, but Neo 3.
I don't think so.
Wait,
I might be.
hold on. Feel like I don't know
I
why, but
don't.
I'm looking at that and I'm like, I want to say that looked familiar, but then I'm like, but I looked at that trailer and I was like, but when they said 2026, I was like, wait a minute, no, this had to been the first time that they brought this up. But it
Yeah,
looks
I'm
like a
pretty
game I'm
sure.
thinking of
What?
something else.
And they said demo out today. I think they
Yeah,
said,
a demo is out right now.
which may it's I yeah I personally don't know if it was announced earlier. Maybe since a demo immediately came out, it was already announced. But all I know is that I don't know. It looks cool. I heard very good things about the first two. It's just not the type of game that really I'm gonna try immediately.
Yeah, I don't know if I would try it immediately either though, but I could tell there's a good quality game out there to say the least though. So it's like, hey, it's not like we're getting like a fluff filler announcement right here. It's some good content. It just depends on whether or not you're gonna like it or not. So yeah, so I was like, okay, that's some good stuff right there. So cool stuff. Then they hit you with a little bit of a love letter, Steven, over here, because they heard you apparently beating all the levels thus far because they managed to give us five new additional levels to be added into Astrobot that's going to drop later out this month.
They are challenge levels. They're like kind of speedrun esque levels, but that doesn't matter. I mean, it's still new levels. Still really
Hmm.
cool. They don't have to do this. You know what I mean? If someone goes and picks up Astrobot right now, they have like basically like 16 new levels to play because they added that Christmas level, and they've already been adding challenge levels.
Yeah.
And that Christmas level is basically a full level.
So yeah, so they
It's
gave us
really
that,
cool.
and I think that and it's funny because they said, "Hey, we're gonna re-release the Astrobot DualSense controller, the one I already had." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool for those that didn't pick it up." Oh, wait a gosh dang second. The only difference was the eyes were like squinted in such a way where it looked like the controller was happy. I was like,
Now,
"Bruh,
see, that's a very Nintendo thing to do. They're copying Nintendo even down to their stupid business practices, which is well, I like it. Like Nintendo would absolutely release a slightly different controller to make collectors buy it all over again.
good night." Yeah, I feel like that would be the only reason why, unless you just completely miss out on it. So this is your first time
Well,
getting it,
yeah,
though.
it must have sold well if they're doing this.
Wait, did you ever pick that up? Because I know I have it. Did you ever get
No,
that
I
one?
did not.
Hey, maybe
I
you
did
should get
not.
this one so that way I got one and you got the other.
I guess, but like I don't know. I'm not really in a rush to buy a new PS5 controller, especially
Because
because
you only got
mine
like
works
what, one of
fine.
those controllers so far?
Yeah, and I'm not really, like I said, I'm not really in a rush to get another PS5 controller.
Hey, I say two is the perfect combo because you know how those DualSense batteries they kind of they don't last too long. When I had two and I was rotating them off the charging dock, that was the perfect combo. But anyway, though,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah,
I also
it's a solid
I
controller.
don't use my PS5 for more than 2 hours at a time.
Yeah. Oh, I
It
guess
was
it
really only
balances out.
Astrobot that I played like for fucking 10 hours at a time.
Mm. All right, so we had all of that. I didn't have it in my list, but you brought it up, so I might as well go ahead and mention it though. Got a new look at Silent Hill F, and we actually got it confirmed it's going to be coming out this year in 2025. And I was looking at that trailer, and I was like, "Gosh, dang, the creep factor's up on an insanely high level." But it ain't like nothing that's just like giving me goosebumps or chills or whatever. It's not kind of like my cup of tea per se though. but our good buddy Sonic Q and stuff, he likes himself some Silent Hill and stuff. So I'm kind of curious what his thoughts will be whenever he finally manages to play the game. Will you be getting this game, Steven, or are you just kind of leaning on the fence, or you
So
don't know?
I've never played a Silent Hill, but it does look interesting. Maybe this is where I should. Maybe if not a lot comes out, because this is coming out in September, and there's a lot coming out in September. But if I take some time to play it, might enjoy it.
Hmm. Okay.
I don't know. I'm willing to try it though. It looks cool though. It definitely visually looks really nice. It's got like this interesting setting to it, like that Silent Hill games don't usually go for.
Hmm. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks cool. I don't have many thoughts on it, but it's an announcement that I think is neat.
Yeah. So not too bad of an announcement right there. All righty then. Now this next one. This is where it started ramping up quite drastically for me because most of the time you can kind of dull out the presentation and then you might get hit with the one more thing and then it kind of just brings it back up. But this is when you started getting on that upward trajectory on the roller coaster. And I was like, oh man, we're really getting into it now. Because I was looking at this next trailer and it was playing out, and I was like, okay, you got some young looking kind of people. I could tell this is gonna be a somewhat kind of shooty game, but I was like, wait, the art style looks kind of a little bit different. Not as dark, not as gritty, kind of lightful, almost youthful, playful, but you could tell it's still serious. And I'm like, okay. And I'm looking at this dude and I'm like, should I know this dude? And then the music starts playing. And then I started looking around. I was like, no, they did not do this. Yes, they're giving us a brand new GoldenEye 007 game called First Flight, and that's coming out in 2026. I was like, oh, shoot, sign me up. I was like, man, it's been a while since we played a brand new GoldenEye game, or at least for me personally. But I looked at this and I was like, oh, man, I'm all here for it now. I'm all here for it now. I was like, man, and it's cool because it's not like the James Bond and all that stuff that we know from like current, like where he's kind of like an older seasoned vet in this, espionage kind of spyish stuff that he's doing right now. This is in his youthful years, like where he barely even got with the agency and all of that. And I'm like, oh goodness. I was like, that's a cool take right there. So I'm really looking forward to this game coming out in 2026.
Yeah, they didn't really show any gameplay. It kind of just looks like a generic. It kind of just the vibe I got just seems like your generic movie game where they already. I don't know. It looks very like realistic looking. Looks very movie-ish. They already announced like DLC and digital deluxe and skins. Like it kind of is putting me off right now, but maybe once we see gameplay, I'll be like, oh, that looks kind of cool.
Oh yeah, because the
But
GoldenEye games, you're kind of in it for the little bit of story that they managed to kind of tell you a little bit though. But I'm pretty sure the gameplay will be there. It's just how it is when you announce a game a whole year early. It's like they're not going to show you too much, but it is what it is.
yeah, either way though, that game, probably is gonna be good and all. There are
Yeah,
two games you skipped over that I kind of want to
go
talk
ahead and
about.
go ahead and address them if they're not. Yeah, because I don't think they're on my list. So go ahead and address them.
First one is this new game by the creator of No More Heroes, which is quite a big deal because like people really like No More Heroes games, and this is really unique. It is called, I think it's the exact title is Romeo is a Dead Man,
Hmm.
and this game does look pretty interesting. Where basically it's like when I first saw the trailer, it like started off with this weird like cell shaded stuff. It looks very interesting, honestly. And then they showed more of it, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely like a game by Suda51. And then his like studio showed up, and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely gonna be like a wacky game, and I might try it out. Um, I'd have to, I would say rewatch the trailer. It's kind of like a wacky looking game from
Yeah,
him. But that game's coming out. I think he said like 2026, and then they were like maybe. So
maybe.
it's
Oh, there could be another
that's what
delay
they
on
said.
top of that.
Yeah, which they did the same thing for No More Heroes 3. So
Hmm.
probably. And then the next one was the Mortal Kombat like collection they're doing, which I think is really cool.
Oh yeah, no, I
So
remember
they're
that one.
doing
That was pretty cool announcement.
yeah, so I think it's Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3, 3 like 3 Ultimate and then 4, which is a really cool selection of games, honestly.
Yeah, like they had
So
that
they're doing
whole retro vibe-ish thing with the arcades and all of that. Yeah, and they said,
yeah, and
what
then
was it?
but then
Crossplay, cross progression. I'm
they
trying to
took it
remember.
the next mile. They were like, yeah, we're doing crossplay. Yeah, we're doing like full online. I think they said rollback. And then they also went fucking crazy and they said, "Oh, we're not just doing the regular versions of these games. We're doing every single version of these games. Like the Game Boy version, the Genesis version. You can
Oh,
play all of
that
them
kind of
with
reminds me of
rollback."
like some of those retro style collections we get. Like for example, what was it like the Cowabunga collection or whatever? Like where you had like the
Yeah,
SNES and the
but like
Genesis one. I think it's hitting those kind of
those
similar vibes. So I kind of like it when they spend the time to do all that.
yeah, but those are different. Like a game like Mortal Kombat, like when you think, like usually people stick with whatever the best version of a certain game is. But like I don't know. It's just it to me. It's just really funny seeing like the Game Boy version of Mortal Kombat being played online. Like of all games to play online, you play the Game Boy version of Mortal Kombat.
Hey, some people they might have grew up playing that, so that might be the
Well,
only
that's what I'm
reason why
saying. It's
they're
cool.
gonna go and play the Game Boy version when they're gonna be like,
It's
"Oh, these
something.
old times," and immediately move on.
Well, it's something that they didn't have to do. It's a really nice thing to do, just to like kind of have this history look almost.
Hmm.
I think that's really fucking cool that they did that. I might buy it. I don't know. I like me some Mortal Kombat once in a while, especially because I think this is like really one of the first re-releases of the classic Mortal Kombat games. It's not on an arcade machine.
Yeah, I feel like it is. Yeah, because I feel like I would have heard about it somewhere if it was, if it was already that being the case, and like we already technically
Yeah.
had these out, but I don't think that's been the case.
Oh, speaking of classic games, I think they showed Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, the original versions coming
Yeah,
to
those were like
PlayStation,
the PlayStation Premium thing.
which
So I could dabble around with it. I do have Premium still. Don't ask
we
me
could
why. It's just
see.
because the fact I got they keep charging me the basic tier for the premium stuff.
Yeah,
That's the only reason why.
which it is really cool that they're doing that, and hopefully it leads to more games doing this, like getting the
Hmm.
original versions. Who knows though?
So yeah, so not too many bad announcements, all things considering though. So you got to take your W's where you can get it though. Was that it for
I
all
don't
the
know.
stuff I might have missed
I think
besides the
so.
last two?
Either way though, it was still like a really, like the pacing during all this was really interesting. Even during an announcement I don't necessarily care about, it was cool just like that they went through it really fast.
Yeah.
Like they were constantly moving to the next thing. I'm trying to think of anything else that you might have missed, but I don't think so.
No,
I
I
can't
I only
remember
I
if they
only
did like
noted the
any
ones that I
online
really
games.
cared about, and I felt like you brought up the few that I kind of skipped over, but there were still cool announcements. I just forgot to put them on the list.
Yeah, that's if we missed anything, like if we missed anything, like it probably was still cool. I can't think of any games that I really didn't care about here.
Yeah. All right. So then the last two were first party related games. And then obviously I was expecting one of them to show their face. And yes, that is Ghost of Yote, because that game is supposed to come out later this year in the fall. So I was thinking, okay, we'll probably get another good trailer of this, right? It was just more like a tease. I was like, oh, that's all we're getting? And they said they're set for a deep dive in July. Which honestly, I'm trying to think back with the original like Ghost of Tsushima. I felt like they did something like almost a similar time frame for this. Like there was like a deep dive around one point, and then they brought the game like a month or two later or something like that. So I think they're kind of retreading upon similar steps like what they did with the first release. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll be there to kind of tune in for it, at least just enough info to where I'm not going to get too badly spoiled. Then I'll kind of hop out or whatever, though. So I'm looking forward to that in July. So that's pretty good stuff. But they were in and out with that announcement really quick. So then that made me think, I was like, well, what the heck could be that one more thing? I was like, it doesn't make any sense. I was like, what honestly could be that one more thing? So they hit me with the PlayStation Studios thing, right, Steven? And I was like, okay. I was like, I was expecting that. Then they hit me with the Arc system. I was like, wait, what the freak? And then
Yeah,
and then they popped up the sketching and the artwork and stuff. I was like, I don't know what kind of game we're getting though. But I was like, what kind of fighting game could possibly be like this? And then I saw a circle drawn with a star on it and with some blue and red color. And I was like, oh, heck no. PlayStation, Arc System, and Marvel. I was like, what the freak? And Arc System is, a fighting studio that's known for Dragon Ball Fighter Z, Grand Blue
Guilty
Fantasy
Gear.
Versus, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. I was like, some really good fighting games. And I own all of those. I was like, well, oh, shoot, what are we cooking over here? And gosh dang, the name of the title for this one, Marvel. Oh, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Marvel
Marvel Tokon Fighting
Tokon.
Soul.
Okay,
I
Fighting
think.
Souls. Let's hope that's right. But anyway, though, oh shoot, they started showing off the gameplay and a little bit of cinematic sprinkle in here and there, though. And I was like, I don't know what this is. But sign me up. They had what was it? Spider Man, Captain America, Iron Man, Doctor Doom,
Form
Storm, uh,
Miss
that's
Marvel.
yeah, Miss Marvel, and I feel like one or two other ones that slip in my mind though.
I think they showed 8 characters because it was
Yeah, it
like
was
a
like
four
four
v
v
four.
four. It's like basically like the whole premise of this. I was like, whoa! I was like, between like you can either use the one character or freely switch in quite often, which technically is something that you were able to do in like Fighter Z. Like you can choose different characters, like a 3v team, and switch the characters in and out at will. But they're doing this with 4 people in this game though. I was like, man, the action based upon this though, I was like, gosh, dang. It was a little weird because they had like Japanese voice acting instead of English one because you're just kind of used to with Marvel characters speaking English or whatever though. But it makes sense. The studio that's behind this game over there in Japan, so it makes sense though. But man,
No,
oh
we just
man,
haven't
that's a
dubbed it yet.
way to go out right here. We still talked about Marvel, Steven. We still talked about Marvel in this
There
podcast.
was, there is one interesting Marvel thing. They're not doing a whole H panel this year, so they obviously don't really have anything to show this year. So this honestly might be the most notable Marvel thing that we have coming up to think about, because they're probably going to show new characters eventually and this and that. They
Yeah.
don't. I think they say 2026 or did they just not even
Yeah,
give
no,
an estimate?
2026 was dang, something light me up here. I'm on it. No, yeah, they said 2026 was basically when this game is coming out. That's all we have as a window frame, just a year.
I got you.
Hmm. But yeah, that was
Looks
a
really cool though. Like animation wise, character design wise, Iron Man and Doctor Doom look really cool to me. Miss Marvel has this really nice design with like the big eyes. She just looks very comic-y, which is what it should look like.
yeah, yeah, they have a really good, nice art style with this. They kind of gave you like a little small little deep dive into like the studio behind it and stuff, and how they were literally
A little long, but
it was a little long, but it was kind of cool because the fact that it was Marvel and it was Arc System, it didn't bother me in the slightest. I wasn't skipping past anything. I was just kind of listening to the story or whatever. Though it was just the perfect combo right there. But it's just crazy how they said, "Hey, that studio was the perfect fit for them." And I was like, and then obviously when you go online and you start looking on Twitter after the fact, it's like the memes of like, "Oh, I thought we had something special," like the when SpongeBob was walking out the door with Gary or whatever, and Patrick's like, "No, don't leave me," because literally you would
Capcom.
think Capcom. Like you thought they would have gone
Yeah,
to them to do something like this.
Marvel versus Capcom is dead. It's
Oh man.
kind of obvious now. Marvel versus Capcom, at least for the moment, is taking a little bit of hibernation. They did just do that collection, so I think Marvel versus Capcom fans are fed well.
Yeah, at least for the time being. So yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm picking this one up. I was like, there ain't no if and nor buts about it. That's one to get me back in that PS5 once again. So I'll be looking forward to that game when it does come out though. And man, what a way to go out on that show. So overall, I'm looking back at my list. Not a bad state of play. Definitely better than the previous one that we gotten earlier this year, if
Yeah,
I had to say
a
so
lot of
myself.
people, a lot of people, including me, thought they were gonna end it with Resident Evil 9,
Mm,
and that's all I'll say about that for now.
yeah, that's all we're gonna say about that. So I was like, oh, okay, so that wasn't a bad show. So all things considering, I think if we were to give this one a letter grade, we'll do this for like all three of these shows that we got to talk about. I firmly will give this one a solid B. I give it a solid
I'm gonna
B.
give it an A.
You're gonna give it an A? Okay,
I'm gonna
okay.
give it an A. Yeah,
I was
I'm
about to
gonna give
say
it
if
an
they
A.
would have hit me with maybe a little more of Ghost of Yote, or if they would have hit me with at least one more first party game that I actually cared about from them, I don't know what that would have been. Oh, Wolverine. Yeah, if they would have hit me with something like that also in the showcase as well, then that probably would have sent it up to like an A for me. But it's a solid B. It was on the verge of a B plus for me. But a lot of good announcements up in this show. Pretty good.
if if somehow we actually did get Resident Evil 9 in this showcase and not the other one, because yeah, Resident Evil 9 showed up later. If we got Resident Evil 9 in the showcase, it would have been bumped up to an A plus for me. I don't know.
Okay.
For some reason, I just really enjoyed this showcase.
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't expecting this one to be super, super good. And I was just pleasantly surprised. I was like, all right, I see you, Sony. Okay. And we're not pulling any punches this time around. Usually one of these companies usually take an L every time though, but I was like, oh, all righty. But yeah, anything else on the state of play, Steven?
Honestly, not really. Like the state of play was cool and all, but like I can't really think of anything else to say about it. Like it just had a couple of those hard hitter announcements, and it didn't have much filler. It didn't really have anything that I didn't feel was boring or didn't belong.
Okay.
At least right now, like I'm excited for all the stuff coming out, and I hope Sony does a lot more good state of plays like this. The only thing that didn't show up that I would have liked to see more is the new Five Nights at Freddy's game coming out in like 5 days. But it's coming out in like 5 days, so maybe they just didn't feel the need to show it.
Probably not.
Weird. I don't know. It was really cool though. I can't complain.
All righty then. All right, well, that's it for the state of play. So that was the first show, done and gone. General consensus between the average of both of our scores. We're sitting at a B plus for the state of play. So not bad. Not bad. All right, so now let's go ahead and jump over to the second game show or the game, gosh, game presentation. That's what I'm gonna say. That being that summer game fest show. All right, Steven. I don't know about you, but in comparison to this one, in comparison to all the three of them, it might be the lowest on the totem pole. But they did have some things that might have punched its category up to try to compete. And I think that's all I'm going to say about that one, though, because it was weird. Because like what this one aired out on a what was it? The what was it? The state of play was on Wednesday. The Switch 2 dropped on Thursday. So the Summer Game Fest show it was on Friday, and I think it was in like what 4 o'clock Central Standard Time, my time, 5 your time, and I
Wasn't
was
it
like,
was it yesterday? I thought it was yesterday.
no, it was on
Saturday.
Friday,
Was
not
it time? Sorry,
Saturday.
time's been going by really weird for me. Just been playing Switch 2.
Yeah, no, yeah, time's been flying a little too fast over there for you though. So yeah, so no, this happened the day after the Switch 2 launched and stuff though. And honestly, I was trying to pull up my notes. And I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing though, but I don't think I had much of any kind of notes up on this thing.
I can think of at least a couple things. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds
Okay, that was one.
got
That was
like a
one.
lot of decent stuff where they kind of just showed us the launch roster. Uh, Launch roster looks really cool. Got Sage from Sonic Frontiers in there, which they might have already showed, but I think that's really cool. And then the post launch stuff is very interesting. I don't know if it's at launch or shortly after launch, but they will be having a line of free DLC characters and a line of paid DLC characters. The free DLC characters look to be mostly Sega crossovers. Right now we have Hatsune Miku, Joker, and Ichiban, which is a really, really funny pick.
You know what? I
It
saw
kind of
all of
reminds me
that
of
and I
Sonic
was like,
racing games before.
yeah, I was like, bruh, I was like, wait, what's up with these crossovers, man? They're trying to compete with Mario Kart over here. I was like Ichiban and all of that stuff, and then when I saw Joker, I was like, oh shoot, you know what? That looked pretty sick. They're trying to speak and call my name out with that calling card, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people are really excited for this, but wow, some people are like, "Oh, it's $70, guys," and with the DLC, it's $90. Every game is going to be like that nowadays. It's getting harder and harder to like complain about prices with games because not only do companies not listen, but it's going to go on sale eventually anyways. Like especially a Sonic racing game. Come on, this bitch is going to go on sale that holiday season coming up. And what this game also comes out in September, I think they announced.
Yeah, it was it. Wait, they did give us a release date for this, right? Like you said, September.
Yeah, I thought September.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's pretty. Yeah, that sounds about spot on, correct. I'm trying to remember honestly because I was like, some of the
Oh, and
stuff
then
that
for the
happened in that
paid,
show was a little bit of a blur for me.
and then the paid DLC. What we got Minecraft, which is really cool, and paid DLC is going to come with stages, which I really think is cool.
September 25th.
Uh, Oh yeah, and this was leaked. I'm gonna be talking about some of the leaked stuff we got like a couple days ago. Apparently, in this game, there's gonna be Avatar: The Last Airbender content. There's gonna be SpongeBob content, and there's gonna be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles content,
What the heck?
including a SpongeBob map that we saw where you go through Bikini Bottom. And for a Sonic racing game, I think that's really funny. And
Hmm.
I don't know, we seen some concept art of Aang like on an extreme gear, and I think that by itself is really funny to me.
Huh. Yeah, that's not too bad. So I was like, okay, you know what? That was pretty cool. I would say that was like one of the noteworthy ones in that show.
Well,
Alrighty.
I have another noteworthy one, but I know
Okay, bring it.
I know you don't really play the games that much. Earlier, I don't know if you remember this. Pretty early into the showcase, they were like, "Okay, we don't have a lot to say on the next Resident Evil installment, so please stay tuned." They like literally said earlier in the showcase, we're not going to show Resident Evil 9." What do you fucking think they did at the end? Well, just take a wild guess. Did they A, show Resident Evil 9, B, show Resident Evil 9, or C, show Resident Evil 9?
No, they did D. They
Yeah,
showed it.
they did D, which was show Resident Evil 9. And holy shit, man. I didn't when I first watched that trailer, I was like, what the fuck is this? I don't care about this. And then I kept watching and I'm like, wait, oh, on unspecified disease killing people, the graphics kind of look like RE Engine. Wait, this might actually be Resident Evil 9. It was RE9. I think Resident Evil Requiem with the Q being the 9 because they like doing that. They like putting the number in the title
Mm-hmm.
like village, like in village, the VII of yeah, the Roman numerals for 8 are in there, and for 7 they also did that. I think it's cool that they do that. Either way, though, Resident Evil 9 is gonna be a return to Raccoon City from Resident Evil 2. Because after the events of Resident Evil 2, they basically nuked that city because of the infection. I know you don't play a lot of Resident Evil, but basically there's this virus, and then they have to nuke the entire city,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
from
we
Resident. You
see
said from Resident Evil 2,
going
right?
yeah, and then we see them going to the police department from Resident Evil 2. It's all destroyed in this trailer, which is awesome, honestly.
Hmm.
I'm really excited if it's going to play similar to the original couple games.
Oh, like 2 and 3.
Well, more like 2. I don't really care for 3, but just the way that like specifically Resident Evil 2 plays is really fun to me. I hope they go back to just that small contained environment with this replayable aspect of it.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's
Okay.
cool though. I don't know if you have a list because I'll be honest with you, I like skimmed through this damn thing.
No, I
I
skipped
don't
through
care.
it too. When you said Resident Evil 9 was at the show, I was like, bruh, I didn't. I don't think I even made it all the way to the end of the show. I was trying to watch it at work, just like briefly skimming over some of the stuff though. I got a list from IGN. I can just list out all the stuff though, but there wasn't too many things like the Resident Evil 9 that was at the very front of their thing. Lies of P Overture was I think it was a shadow drop. Dying Light, Wu Tang, Rise of the Deceiver was announced. Onimusha, The Way of the Sword. That one's actually kind of cool. So that one wasn't too bad comparison to some of these other titles. There was like a Game of Thrones, War of the Westeros or whatever, Arc Riders. I feel like there's Arc something always coming out. Hitman World Assassination. Scott Pilgrim EX is the new co-op brawler
Oh,
from the original.
that that's cool. Scott Pilgrim getting a new game is pretty cool because
Hmm.
it's like a sequel to the new Netflix series they did.
Ah, I gotcha. Hmm. And then they had a
I don't know. At
Mortal.
least
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and I was just gonna say, like, at least in terms of announcements, they had some okay ones. It's just I don't like how Jeff Keighley structures his shows. He'll spend like 2 minutes talking about the game before he announces it. Like he'll be like,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah,
I saw this game like 3 months ago, and I gotta admit, guys, it's looking pretty cool. I can't wait to show this to you. I've been waiting, I've been waiting 15 years to show this game to you, and I can finally show it today." And it's just the fucking dumbest thing ever.
yeah, I know. There's too much of that mess. I was like, I just can't with that. They
Yeah,
had
he
Mortal.
wastes time.
They had Mortal Shell 2. I was like, okay. Square Enix showed off another game, but I don't know what the heck this was. It was like a Killer In, a new team-based social deduction game or whatever. And that's one of those weird things. It's like Square Enix can always be on one. All right, then we got to bring this one up to light, Steven, because it ain't a Summer Game Fest or a Game Awards show unless this game happens to pop up. Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Yeah, that one was there. He had to show off his boy Kojima and
Yeah,
all of that
he had the
mess.
dick suck Kojima again. Yeah,
I was like, oh brother, here we go again. I skipped past all of it. I wasn't putting up with none of that mess though. Then they had like Wildgate, Stranger Than Heaven, and Ryu, God Go Go. Oh, I don't know how the heck you pronounce all of that. Bandai Namco revealed Toa, the Garden of the Sacred Tree. At least that game looked a little bit colorful. I ain't gonna lie. We already talked about Sonic Racing. Munfish announced Atomic Heart 2. Okay. Um, they had a Lego game up in there. You didn't have anything to say on that, Steven?
they had two Lego games actually.
What was the other one?
They had a Lego Party game, which is just Mario Party, but it's dumb and it's probably gonna be bad. And it's got Ninjago in it, so maybe I'll try it.
Hmm.
And then they
Okay.
announced Lego, I think Voyagers, like this two-player focused, like 2 player focused adventure, like story based Lego game. It's by the same people. I don't know if you've seen. There was that Lego game a couple years ago. That was like a story based one, like puzzle story based.
Sounds familiar, but I can't think of it.
I don't know. It looks decent. It looks cool. Um, we're not really getting that many Lego games anymore because I think the studio that did Lego Star Wars, which was the last Lego game, got like massive layoffs after that project.
Hmm. Okay. And then
So yeah, like it looks cool, but like I'm not really excited per se for them.
yeah. And then I think after that we had what was it? Chronicles Medieval trailer. I was like, okay. And that's all I had on my IGN list right here. So, moral on the study on this one, I was pleasantly surprised at how bad this show really was. For me, Resident Evil 9 was cool for those that like it. So I was like, okay, that's a statement right there to end the show off like that. I did like the Sonic Cross World thing that they showed off. Okay. And there was one other thing I forgot that shoot, IGN didn't put up on that gosh dang list though. But there was a Marvel beat 'em up game that was up in this thing though. And that one looked cool. I think outside of them three announcements,
Oh,
this show
the
did not do
no,
much of anything for me.
that Marvel beat 'em up was at the Nintendo Direct, the Switch One Direct that we got in March.
Okay, so
So
I was
that's
like,
not even
I
a
knew,
new
I knew
announcement.
it
They just
wasn't new,
showed
but
more.
it was cool seeing, I guess, the additional characters that they announced up in it. So yeah,
Like She-Hulk or something.
yeah, it was She Hulk and Rocket. Yeah,
Pretty cool.
yeah. So outside of that, those three announcements, nothing else in this show was doing it for me. And honestly, I think last year Jeff Kelly had a better Summer Game Fest last year's show than what we did get this year. So it's kind of weird. His stuff can go all the way up and down.
Which, well, yeah, no, Jeff Keighley is not a consistent man. Like the Game Awards we got last year was okay actually. Got
Actually,
a good
that one was
comic view
okay,
in
and I think
there.
the one before that was bad. So I think that's the thing. You get either a good summer or you get a good or you get a good game awards, and then the vice versa flip, the other one will probably be bad. I'm like, bruh,
Yeah.
there's no consistency.
The only thing that's interesting to me, I don't know if Summer Games Fest is already over, but in that original image, there was, I think it said Nintendo Switch 2. Like
It
that
did say
Nintendo was like
that.
an official partner, which I don't really think they showed any. I can't think of any Switch 2 games they showed in any
No,
of these like
none of
showcases.
these things like
Um,
PlayStation,
there's
like
a
like sometimes how they will.
possibility.
Oh yeah, you know how like sometimes they'll showcase off like what platforms it comes to. I've been trying to keep an eye on that. And for the vast majority of all the stuff that was in the state of play, mostly all this stuff in Summer Game Fest and some of the stuff we'll talk about here in the moment with the Xbox, I hadn't seen that Switch 2 logo pop up yet. So somewhere in this mug, they got to really pop it up. Because I don't think much of any of these showcases were mentioning it, which leads me to think if you're not going to announce any one of these three shows, are we on the verge of another direct? Well, I'll just leave it at that. But
Oh, we definitely are because Donkey Kong Bonanza we basically know nothing about, and they keep hiding info on that game.
yeah, but the Summer Game Fest thing, like the season for it, when Jeff does his whole kind of thing, it's meant to be like almost about a weekish or so long, week and a half pushing it. It kind of started when State of Play started on that Wednesday, and it'll probably go all the way to like the end of this week on a Friday for like some of the people that are there at his little event, and they can play like demos of this stuff and then kind of talk about it, share it or whatever though. So
Yeah,
we'll see if something happens the rest of this week though.
I'm excited for the premise of a new Nintendo Direct possibly coming soon. Mostly because, like, Nintendo has a lot that they need to answer for. For example, I really want them to confirm, even just to confirm, if Mario Kart will be getting post-launch content or not. Because
Yeah.
everyone's enjoying it right now. This would be the perfect time to say, hey, we are doing more. Metroid Prime 4 still doesn't have a date, and that pains me. I need to play that game. Especially now that I got Switch 2 in my hands and the games look so good. I need to get that my 4K 60 Metroid Prime 4 in my hands right now.
Mhm.
Pokemon Legends ZA finally got a release date, but that makes sense because Pokemon always does stuff on their own schedule. But we still don't know anything for the release date of like I said, Prime 4. Kirby Air Riders is apparently coming this year, but we don't know when. I think there's another game they have slated for this year. And then I don't know, like I guarantee. Oh yeah, Dragon. It was Dragon Drive. Dragon Drive is apparently a summer game, so I
Oh
definitely see
yeah.
them showing that off. So we have all these games that they need to give us more info on. Plus, I feel like there is probably one more like big game for like slated closer to the end of this year. They haven't showed us yet. Like
Yeah,
some
I feel
kind
like
of
there's a chance. This depends on where they're gonna slot some of these other things like the Hyrule Warriors game and
well
stuff. Where
because
where that falls, where the Kirby Air Riders 2 happens to fall as well. It just depends on what months are gonna be given to what games.
Yeah, because I see just like Kirby comes out in August, but like I definitely see them slotting either Dragon Drive or Metroid Prime 4 into August. And then I think September is open. I can't think of anything coming in September, so that might be when Metroid Prime 4 comes out, which really pains me because there's a lot coming out in September.
Hmm. I mean, it doesn't
But yeah,
surprise me though.
it looks really cool, honestly, Metroid Prime 4, but I just got to get it in my hands. I want to see the goddamn release date. I just want to know that it's coming. Besides that, though, I'm not going to do too much speculation about this imaginative Nintendo Direct because it's definitely coming. Like, there's no way that Nintendo Shadow drops, like, the release date of that game just on Twitter.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that was pretty much it in terms of all of our thoughts on the Summer Game Fest show announcements, though. So once again, letter grade for this one. I'm gonna keep it point blank. I give this show a flat out. Me personally speaking, I'm giving it a D. I'm giving it a D.
I
You
was
might be
about to say
once.
I was about to say like C plus.
I knew you were gonna probably do a C. I knew you were gonna do a C, just
Well,
probably because of
it
the
had
Resident Evil
fucking
9.
Resident Evil 9. Yeah,
That was the only reason why.
quite
Oh man.
literally. Like,
Uh,
yeah.
that's the only reason why I didn't get this thing an F was because it had Resident Evil 9. If it didn't have that and something else that I didn't resonate with, yeah, I would have gave it an F. I'm like, ugh. I think that's the only reason why when Jeff Keighley did his own little Twitter poll posting on Twitter, I think that's the main reason why a lot of people were sitting at like B-ish. I think on average was probably just only because of Resident Evil 9. But like, come on, you gotta look at that whole entire show. Like there was like a whole bunch of nothing up in there. But I don't know. So I guess between both of us, where are we sitting at? Like it'll be a C minus, I think, between both of
Yeah,
us.
like a little bit of a C minus. I don't know. It was okay, but like probably the worst of all the showcases.
Definitely by far. Definitely by far. I knew this one wasn't gonna be too good because I was just I was just watching this mostly on my phone. I'll just skip ahead a little bit, skip ahead a little bit. The other two I made sure to have like some designated time, like in the comfort of my home, going through and trying to watch those shows. But this one I was like, nah, I know they ain't gonna announce anything super, super important outside of that one thing. But yeah. Ugh, goodness. Jeff, you gotta work on your shows, man. Gotta work on them. I know it's tough when you got your competition showing all these other ones out here though. You might need to pay them a little more money. Just saying. But anyway,
But
that I
that's
oh
the
what
thing. I think what for Game Awards, I remember hearing like it's a was it $100,000 to get just 30 seconds of advertising in Game Awards?
Yeah, but then
It
again, like
seems like
that's
a
the
lot of
he has the
money to
monop.
get.
Yeah, no, he has the monopoly at least at a given point like that because everybody's funneling into his show versus during the summertime between other people doing their own things or doing some things kind of partnered through him a little bit. You got a lot more different avenues to kind of put your announcement wherever you want,
Yeah,
depending on what show it caters to your audience the most. So yeah,
I
I'm
think I
not.
just kind of don't. I just don't like Jeff Keighley. I don't think he's a very interesting host, and I don't really think he knows what people want
Yeah,
for the
I
most
don't
part.
know.
I don't know. Like I just personally, recently, I'm like, okay, your showcases are either really good or really bad. So why even tune into them?
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway,
That's just my take.
just work on them, Jeff. Just work on them. There's always next year. There's always next year. All right, so that's it for the Summer Game Fest stuff. So now we're gonna go ahead and flip it on over to the next and final showcase we managed to get from all these summer events. That being the Xbox Showcase. All righty, so here we go, Steven. The last and final one. This Xbox Showcase. Now, this one was the one where I was like, there was one game, and we'll get to it here in a bit, though. There was only one game. They had to show up in this thing, and I would knock the whole letter grade of this presentation from whatever I could have gave it as a gut check feeling. I'll knock it up a whole nother letter, though. I'll just say that before we get into all these announcements, though. And thank goodness that Xbox actually had like one of those graphics where it's like, these are all the games that you have to kind of expect and stuff to see. So I was like, okay, good, because I can just look on this one little screenshot, and we'll go from talking about all the game announcements that we probably both don't care about, and we'll build our way up into the more notable announcements, and then we'll spend a little bit more time upon it, though. So I'm gonna start over here at the bottom right corner, and stop me, Steven, if it were for some reason if I announced something and you actually had something to say about it. I highly doubt it, but I'll say that. All right, here we go. We had Chronos: The New Dawn, a Nemo. I don't even know what that is. There are no ghosts at the Grand. Planet of Lana 2, Aphelion. We have some Fallout 76 DLC. Beast
It's
of
still being supported.
what were you saying?
I was saying Fallout 76 still being supported is really interesting to me.
I thought
They get
almost
around.
for
I
a
think since
second I thought it was going to
2018.
be a brand new game, but it wasn't. I was like, dang. Beast of Reincarnation,
Wait, I
Uh
have something to say about that. Isn't that the Game Freak game?
oh, okay. Hold up. We'll circle back around to it. I'll mark it on my little finger. We'll circle back around to that. Sea of Thieves DLC. Invincible versus.
That's cool. I like Invincible personally. So like an
That
Invincible
that trailer
fighting game
wasn't.
is
I mean, it
cool.
wasn't doing too much for me, but I liked the trailer. Like the trailer was cool. I just know that ain't my cup of tea, but the trailer looked nice.
Well, probably just because it's like a little violent, or at least the show is.
Yeah. We got what's that? Mudang. Hmm.
Like the fucking hippo.
That's what I was honestly thinking when they said that announcement. I was like, what? I was like, oh shoot. Age of Mythology retold. Okay. Fate's End. Elder Scrolls Online. I feel like this shows up every single gosh dang Xbox showcase at this point.
Because
Um,
they own it.
yeah. Residence, a Plague Tale Legacy. All right. Keeper, The Blood of Dawnwalker. I
A
don't
lot of
think both.
fucking games that I don't care about. Yeah.
I know that's why I'm trying to rip through these right now. The
X
blood,
like the Xbox audience is really like weird.
they really are. Then we got High on Life 2. Okay.
Uh I I didn't even see that. I like I said, I didn't watch the showcase. But I don't High on Life is like a really mixed game in my opinion. But it's I think it's by the people that do Rick
Yeah.
and Morty. So like usually I would be on that, but it was really disappointing. So this one
Yeah.
might be better.
And then Clockwork Revolution. I'm like, okay. And that does it in terms of the ones that we probably wouldn't really care too much about. Because I'm looking at the
Uh,
rest of these games, and I think between the rest of them that we can actually give a little 2 cents on, or games we really care about, that we're looking at a list of like what 6, 7, 8, 9, almost 10 different other games that we're about to go through and talk about now. So, I mean, there was a lot of fluff in this show. I go ahead and talk about some of these notable announcements, though. So I'll start back at the bottom and work our way back up to the top again. So, Super Meat Boy 3D. Okay, they had a couple of indie games up
yeah,
in here though,
baby.
and I looked at
I'm
that
all
one.
up
I was
on
like,
that one.
dang. I was like, is that Meat Boy up in here? And I was like, what the freak? And then he made the jump to 3D. I was like, that game doesn't look bad. It looks kind of solid. I ain't
Here's
gonna
the
lie.
thing. Here's the thing. It doesn't look bad, but the last Super Meat Boy game was really fucking disappointing. So we'll see.
Hmm,
The last Super Meat Boy game was like an endless runner, and it was the most repetitive and boring endless runner I've ever played.
yeah,
So it could be good. I really hope so because I love the original Super Meat Boy like a lot.
yeah.
So
Because I
we'll
was about to
see.
say if I were gonna play an indie game, it would be probably more on the line of that, where it's like, hey, it has some little bit of um I guess enough of a reception to build around it where it's like, oh, okay, like enough people that probably don't normally play a whole bunch of indie games, they can actually say their 2 cents about that because that one it's actually a little bit more quality or whatever though. It has a little more brand recognition. So I was like, okay, that's not bad. I was like, hey, it's better to have some diversity in terms of some of these announcements and stuff. So I was like, okay, I don't think this is a game I'm gonna get, but it's tied to anime, so I had to say something about it. Solo leveling Arise Overdrive. Look, I was not expecting anything like this. I looked at that dude. It's like, wait, does that dude look familiar? And then the whole stinking thing showed him and cutting up enemies and stuff like that in the show. I was like, bro, I know this anime was hugely popular. It was a big event every time one of these new episodes happened to drop out on Saturdays and whatnot. But I did not expect them to actually like turn around and make a game. I don't even know who the heck is making this game though. I don't know if it's even going to be good. If it's going to be like something like what you kind of see with most anime games nowadays, unless you're like a big one like a Dragon Ball or a Naruto or something like that, or a One Piece that's usually getting some decently good games or really good games with the Dragon Ball stuff. But most other anime related games is just kind of like a run of the mill, whatever kind of sometimes bordering slop or whatever though. So I don't know. That one caught me by surprise of seeing that here in this Xbox showcase. I was like, all right, whatever. I highly no. You said you didn't watch the show, so you don't have anything to say on that, Steven. Um, then the Beast of Reincarnation. I somehow must have skipped past the one little part that popped the Game Freak logo up on there until I started doing my digging and researching on the show to make sure I didn't miss anything. And then I was like, oh shoot, that was actually a game made by Game Freak, the same people that make these Pokemon games.
Yeah, it looks decent too. Like visually, it looks pretty good. I don't know. I hope this is a lesson. I hope this is a lesson for Game Freak that like yeah, people are genuinely so shocked that they made a good looking game, which is sad. Like I don't know. Am I wrong in saying that's kind of sad
I
with
mean,
how
not
shocked that
really.
people were about Scarlet and Violet? I don't know. With Scarlet and Violet, you know, people aren't saying, "Oh my god, I love how this game looks." People are saying, "Oh my god, it's finally playable." Like Game Freak has kind of reached this kind of kind of infamous status recently in not being able to make a game that's properly optimized. So then making a game that looks like this, which you know apparently it doesn't really have the best frame rate or whatever, but like they can make games that visually look nice. So why the fuck don't they on Switch?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like
I feel
Monster
like
Hunter Rise is on the fucking Switch one. Like they had no excuse for Scarlet and Violet, and honestly, for Switch 2, for Scarlet and Violet, they had no excuse not like making the textures better. The textures on Scarlet and Violet still don't look very good.
it's
But
gonna be
we'll talk
funny
about
if
Switch
they
2 stuff
wind up
later.
putting that stuff, or they wind up putting this game on Switch too, and then people are gonna be like, "Wait, that's
We
the
know
same
from
gosh dang company."
I know, yeah, we know from Game Freak leaks that Gen 10 is coming. Like it's being worked on. It's got like a heavy emphasis on like ocean exploration. So hopefully Gen 10 will actually look like a real game, but we'll find out.
We'll find out sooner rather than later.
But yeah, bravo Game Freak for making a game that doesn't make my eyes hurt.
Alrighty, and then and then they also managed to give us that Square Enix logo once again. And you know, me, I had to perk up here just a little bit though. I was like, hold up. I was like, what we getting over here? Nothing brand new. They just pull some games over. They said Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, because remember that was never on the Xbox originally. They said, hey, that's
Very
coming out.
dry.
Yeah, it's coming out later this fall, kind of closer to holiday or whatever though. So they say, yeah, that's coming later. And then they also managed to tell us Final Fantasy 16 is available now. I was like, oh shoot. I was like, all right, all right. So hey, they we got like a major Square Enix shadow drop or whatever though. Both these games are amazing. If you're somebody that happen to has an Xbox and not like a PlayStation or whatever though, and you hadn't played either one of these two series respectively, they're both amazing games. Don't go sleeping on it. Hey, y'all Xbox community has been kind of known not to play a lot of RPGs. That's more so on the PlayStation, Nintendo side of things, though. But hey, wake up, y'all! Y'all got some good games. Y'all better capitalize on that mess, though. But anyway, so that was it in terms of that. So those were just a couple ports moved over. Before I talk about the next game announcement, it wasn't too far off in the show, Steven. They managed to give us a new hardware reveal. So we might as well go ahead and talk about that now because Sarah Bond happened to be like one of the first three that popped up between her, Matt Booty, and Phil Spencer. And she got to showcase off this new hardware stuff, which, according to all the leaks and stuff that we heard, it was pretty spot on. Xbox was support was basically in
What we've seen
reports
it.
that yeah they were working on a handheld system. We actually managed to see that actually managed to leak out though. But yeah, they were working hand in hand with Asus to make a oh gosh, what did they dub the sucker as? A ROG a Xbox ROG Ally X or and then they had like one without the X version. So there's two different models.
That's a that's a stupid fucking name. That sucks.
I know.
Like
I
just
was looking at that. I was like, bro, I was like, what the freak? And it's basically using a chip too. Is like the ROG Ally that I have is the Z1 Extreme. The chip they're using in this one is like the Z Extreme 2. It's like the next new chip beyond that or whatever though. So basically, Sarah was basically promoting this thing as the Play Anywhere initiative. So it's like, hey, we don't care you play on console, PC, any of these gaming PC handhelds, including this new one that they're dropping out on. They're basically saying everything is an Xbox. So they're doubling and tripling down and on this mess though now. So I'm looking at this, I was like, yeah, this is gonna
and
be a
it's gonna
premium
bite them in the
price.
ass.
Yeah, they didn't even show the price up on this thing, and I know this is gonna be a premium price point considering how much the
I bet they
standard Raw
did.
Ally was and what the Raw Ally X is already priced at. I'm like, yeah, 'cause that sucker's like priced at like 700, almost 800 ish bucks.
Well,
So I can only imagine what this one with the Xbox
well,
logo
considering
slapped
that,
up on it is. Oh, what were
yeah,
you saying?
considering that this thing is probably gonna be, yeah, considering that this thing is probably gonna be slightly more powerful than an Xbox. Oh, sorry, no, slightly more powerful than a Switch 2. I guarantee it's gonna be like $600, and that's on the low end.
Yeah, on the
I
low
don't
end,
know. Did
it
they
would be
confirm a way to
600.
dock this thing?
No, they didn't
Is
confirm
there a
that in
way
the
to
show.
dock it, or is it?
They just showed the handheld itself. That was it. I'm pretty sure you would be able to dock it because if it's anything like my standard ROG Ally, well, my first version of the ROG Ally has like some premium ports on it for you to dock it, but like the current one that's like the ROG Ally X, um, there's a USB like Thunderbolt port that's on the top of it, and then if you have like a graphics, just a graphics card or whatever that that converts over to like that Thunderbolt USB C port. You plug that on the top. You can run basically any graphics card off the top of that and just tell it to do that. I imagine this handheld should almost do the same exact thing, but I don't know. They could be a little bit weird, but that's just based on the ROG Ally with ROG doing their product. So I'm imagining you should be able to do something with docking. Who's to say though?
We will see.
Yeah, I don't know. They didn't even give us like a release date of when this thing could drop out either. So it's just something that we have to kind of, just keep an eye out on essentially though. So I mean, it doesn't look like a bad little old system though, but I think the price point is really going to probably break a lot of people up on this thing, even if they were remotely considering getting this thing. I don't know.
Probably
I,
gonna be like an okay handheld, but like I don't know. The Xbox brand is just so fucking shit right now. Like, oh, everything is an Xbox. So why am I buying an Xbox? If my PC can be an Xbox and my phone can be an Xbox and I already own all these Xboxes, then you're a company. How are you getting me to buy something? You're supposed to be trying to convince me to buy something, giving me strong exclusives to like want me to pick up pick it up. But no. If I want to play the one or two games from Xbox, then I'll play them. But Xbox is becoming more of a platform than it is actual gaming, like an actual gaming console and this and that. Which, like, yeah, I guess isn't a neat idea. Like, they're definitely trying to branch out, but I feel like they're losing some of that audience
yeah,
personally.
they honestly are. Um, but yeah, so I think that's it in terms of just the hardware stuff. So now I think we got like what 6, 7, about 8 more games to go through here real quick. They managed to bring out Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3+4. And I was looking at that, I was like, oh, okay, that's a Tony Hawk game. I didn't think really nothing too much to it. I just know a lot of people love those games. Look, I hadn't played Tony Hawk, I think, since like what the PS2 era or whatever though. Like that was my jam back then. Nowadays, not so much. But that's a solid announcement compared to some of these other ones we blasted through real quick. Unless you had something to say on that one.
Looks okay.
Okay. And then they hit us with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or as what they had to call it as, is Grounded 2. And I was like, because I remember this one was what it actually the first one came over to the Switch and the PlayStation, so that's the only reason why I remember this title though. But I was like, oh, okay, so I guess we're getting a new one for Xbox and stuff though. So I was like, okay, all right, nice, nice announcement. Whatever. Anything on that?
No, I'm sorry. So many of these games are just like, I don't care.
Yeah. So that was on the lower end. Everything else, we can say a decent bit of stuff up on here though. Then we start getting a little closer to the first party side of things of Gears of War Reloaded. So these are like some of the older Gears of War games, and they're coming over. and they're like basically remastering a bunch of these different things though, having crossplay, so you'd be able to play this on your PC, your Xbox, or on PS5. Didn't see that Switch 2 logo pop up anywhere though. So this is like one of the more noteworthy things though. So hey, now you got like what? You have Gears of War on the PS5. Now you got stinking Forza Horizon. The only thing that's really missing at this point is Halo. And they put Halo over there on
Which,
the PS5.
well,
That's the big three. I was like, bro.
well, according to rumors, it's coming to Switch 2 as well, and Halo is going to be really cool on Switch 2 if that happens.
Yeah. So not a bad announcement right there. So if you're a Gears of War fan, hey, we know we got a brand new one coming out, but hey, you'll be able to re-experience all of these older ones as well. So that's not a bad announcement right there. Um, oh shoot, now we start getting into the megaton hitters right here. All right, this is my moment, Steven. This is my moment. So I saw this trailer. It played like roughly an hour, a little more than an hour or so into the game, in the game showcase. And I was looking at this trailer. I was like, all right, cool. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay, we're kind of in the streets. I was like a little city side or town side thing. I was like, okay, whatever. Then I saw a stack of TVs. I was thinking, you know what? That's Zenless Zone Zero. That's the first thing that popped in my mind because the TVs are stacked up in the same way.
Like,
And then I was thinking to myself, I was like, wait a minute. Zenless Zone Zero is already on Xbox. What the heck is this? And then I saw the classroom setting. I was like, oh, man. And then the music played in there. And I was like, heck freaking yes. This is Persona 4 Gold. Or well, I said Golden. But Persona 4. I was like, heck yes. And then they played all that music and stuff, and the TVs they finally clicked in. I was like, oh yes, this is it. This was that thing that was honestly no shocker, no surprise. We kind of had an idea that they were going to announce something Persona 4 related, and
they
I was thinking, but
literally,
yeah, you had the voice actors and stuff already adding to the fire as well up on this thing, though, because it was a rumor before this. The voice actors just added more fuel to the fire. So at this point, I was like, it's either going to be in the state of play or it's probably going to be in the Xbox showcase. Because based upon the way how Sega and Atlas been kind of with Xbox here as of late, I was banking on it being in the Xbox Game Showcase. It was more than it was basically a tease more than anything. They didn't give us a release date or nothing like that. That's the only thing that sucked about the reveal, though. But outside of that, the fact that it's confirmed it's a thing and it's called Persona 4 Revival, I'm like, heck yes. I was almost about tempted to play my Persona 4 Golden that finally showed up from Limited Run Games on my the PS4 version for my PS5. But then I started hearing rumblings about a remake or whatever, and I was like, let me hold off on this because we're coming around off the tails of Persona 3 Reload. So I was like, hey, this will tie me over until we finally get that Persona 6, maybe next year. Who's to say? But anyway, though, regardless, though, yes, that was
no,
my one announcement. That was my one announcement I was looking for in this whole showcase. I was like, thank goodness.
I'm glad you got your one announcement. I don't know. My one announcement was probably just seeing how fucking stupid the Xbox is with the handheld. That, that's
Yeah.
that's my entertainment right there. My entertainment is seeing how badly they will continue to fuck up.
hmm So yeah, so that was it. Not much more for Persona 4 Revival though, but I'll be keeping my eye out on every little presentation from here moving forward though, because I know when that game comes out, that's an easy gosh. That might be an easy 80-hour time sink, just based upon how long it took me to beat Persona 3 Reload. And I'll be all there for it though. I'll be like, heck yes, let's go. But anyway though, so that was my announcement for the show. That was golden right there. Golden. Unintended, included everything. All right, so there was only a few more games beyond this one. We had Indiana Jones and the Great Circle show up, which I was like, that kind of got my to scratch my head just a little bit. I was like, wait a minute, we just came off of Indiana, the Indiana Jones that came out last year. It was like what December last year. Just recently came out on
Great
PS5.
Circle, Great Circle is the game that came out last year.
Yeah, so
So
I was
what
like,
did they
yeah, we're
show?
coming right off of
Content?
that, and I was like, what? And it's the Order of the Giants. I think it's basically like a DLC expansion, like a new story that they're adding
Probably.
on to it. That's essentially what they showcase off. I was like, oh, okay, that's not bad. And yeah, coming out PS5, Xbox, PC, and all of that stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, that was cool. I like that. Then they managed to showcase off Outer Worlds 2. I think that's what they technically started off the showcase with. And
Well,
obviously that was the
they
thing
did a
that
thing afterwards for it.
yeah, and they did a whole dedicated direct afterwards towards it though. And I was like, I wasn't necessarily a fan of Outer Worlds 2. I dabble with Outer Worlds on PC just a little bit. Quickly figured out that it wasn't my cup of tea or whatever though. But I was like, all right, whatever though. It is what it is. And then you had two other games. They showed off Ninja Gaiden 4, which that was sick. I'm looking forward to picking that game up. And that's coming out later in the fall. I'm trying to think, did they give us I think they actually gave us a release date for it, if I'm not mistaken. Hold up, I gotta look this up here real
I do
quick.
not know.
Hold up here, hold
Okay.
up. Give me 1 second here. Ninja Gaiden 4 release date. October 21st. That's when it's coming out. So I was like, okay, yeah, these September, October games starting to stack up real quick. Oh gosh, because that game comes out October 21st and Pokemon Legends ZA comes out on October 30th. Oh, good night. Anyway, though, so yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. Platinum Games is working on it, man. So they're cooking. They're cooking over here. I'm all here for it though. So yeah, that was cool. And then obviously that one last game that they showcased off before they went into the Outer Worlds 2 direct. I give you one good guess what that game was, Steven. Give me one. I give you one good guess. What do you think they showed?
Uh, one good game that they showed in the Xbox showcase.
And this was their closer. You should be
I don't
able
know.
to guess this.
New Forza game. I don't fucking know.
No, not Forza. We ain't too far off. The stuff that makes money
I don't care
every
then.
holiday season.
Oh, that. Okay, yeah. I fucking Black Ops 7.
Yeah, Black Ops 7.
I
That's
seen
what
it
they
on
closed
Twitter.
it
I
off.
seen it on Twitter.
Yeah, so that was the thing they closed. And I was like, dang it, you know what? They technically could do this every single Xbox showcase every single year because they always release a new Call of Duty something every holiday season. So knowing that, I kind of hoping in the future that Xbox you don't have to open with it and certainly don't close with it. Throw that mess somewhere in the middle of the show because everybody's going to be expecting this every single time, roughly around this point of the year. So throw it somewhere in the middle of the
Yeah,
show and
like
have something else that truly surprising to end it.
I know. Yeah, like I don't know. I don't give a shit about the new Call of Duty games. They're probably fine and all, but like they come out every single year, and at this point, like I don't know. Just it'd be cool if they took a year off and actually made like a really crazy one. Like I guess they just can't afford that. Their bottom line, quite literally, will tank if they do that.
I mean, shoot, they have three different studios that work on this mess in rotation or something like that. So that way they're able to consistently put these games out every holiday season. So yeah, it's something wild like that. So I was like, okay, well, shoot. But yeah, outside of that, that's all of the announcements that were in this Xbox showcase. So when I sit down and look at this whole thing, let's go ahead and do the letter grades on this one. On this one, I give it a solid B minus. B minus. I gave the PlayStation one a solid B. This one's a B minus. And a lot of that lifting was thanks to the Persona 4. Otherwise, I would have gave it a solid C normally. But that's why I got the B
Oh, I'm giving
minus.
this a C.
C? Okay.
I don't, I'm not, I don't necessarily care for Persona 4 as much as you do. This is definitely getting C.
Yeah. So it's not overall like a really bad show, but it wasn't really great either. You had a few of them up in here that were really good, or especially good announcements for people that had played certain games, like the Square Enix stuff, like Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, Final Fantasy 16, and stuff like that. Gears of War Reloaded would be cool for some. Ninja Gaiden 4, I'm really looking forward to that. Actually, those might be the only two games I might play on this list. The Ninja Gaiden and Persona 4. Nothing that's actually considered as first party for Xbox though. Maybe Indiana Jones if they put that mess on the Switch too. That would be the only way I probably would play it. I could play it on PS5, but I don't know. Um, but yeah, that's probably gonna be it for me personally though. But overall, not the greatest thing in the world, but definitely not the worst thing in the world either. So it's just kind of right in the middle of the road right there. So, was there any other lingering thoughts on the Xbox showcase for you, Steven?
Not really.
Alrighty.
It's just an okay showcase.
All right, yeah. So between the state of play, Summer Game Fest, and the Xbox Showcase, bottom of the barrel was Summer Game Fest, the middle was Xbox, and at the top we actually have PlayStation for once, actually managing to come out swinging and get it because I think Xbox had a really good showcase last year. If memory serves me right, and Sony was a little lower. Now they flip. Sony back on top, Xbox kind of in the middle, and the Summer Game Fest one was like low. But I remember Summer Game Fest being quite well as well last year though. But I don't know. The ones that did well last year, they took a back seat. Sony decided to step up the game just a bit more. All right, well that was it in terms of all showcases. We'll see whether or not Nintendo announces one this week, and if they do, then we'll talk about it in in the next episode in a couple of weeks from now though. But not bad in terms of announcements. They hit us with a few heavy hitters, and they were all kind of spread out between all three of these shows, but not too terrible. Not too terrible. Alrighty, with all of that being said, that's going to do it in terms of all of the different gaming shows that we had that transpired the past few days. So now we're going to jump over to the last major talking point of the night, that being that Nintendo Switch 2 launch event. Alrighty, Steven. Time is finally here. We managed to get our hands on that shiny brand new system, the Nintendo Switch 2. Look, it's only once every what? There's 12 moons in a given year. And how many years it's been? It's been 8, so 12 times 8. Yeah, we're looking at like 96
96.
something, 96 something moons, blue moons that we managed to get a brand new console from any, whether it been PlayStation, Xbox, or let alone Nintendo. And man, I felt like it's been a wild ride to get here to this launch. And I'm just glad that we finally managed to get the shiny new system in our hands, though. So I think the plan of attack for this, we'll talk about the
Yeah,
midnight launch. We'll talk about our experience with that because I had a different story. You had a
Mario
different
Kart.
story. We got to talk about Mario Kart World. We got to talk about our impressions of just the hardware itself, like just messing around with how it feels. And then the small little improvements that they did for a good amount of those Switch One games that managed to get those improvements. Because, like for example, I tested out Tears of the Kingdom, you tested out Breath of the Wild. We're gonna talk about both of those, and just a little UI stuff, like for example, game chat. We'll probably just talk about that in a segment though, and then any other games or anything else notable. So we'll go in that kind of order. So that's just kind of just a heads up on that. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and talk about that midnight launch event. Because oh shoot, Steven, I posted that mess up on my Twitter account. I went to my local Best Buy to pick up this system because I had a pre-order, right? And I was like, I was rolling in there because I was talking to all y'all in the Discord call, and I was like, some people like Sonic U, he was in the line like 3 hours before the whole system dropped. And I was like, well, I got a pre-order. They ought to split the line up into two. So I'm gonna show up 15 minutes before 11 o'clock because I'm in Central Standard Time, right? I was thinking I was gonna get my hands on
Oh
that
boy.
Switch. Heck no. That whole stinking parking lot was full, man. It was completely full. I was like, you have got to be stinking kidding me. I was like, hold up, I gotta hurry up and get out of here out of this car. At Megazard underscore X. Look on my Twitter account. You will see my little vlog of it when I dropped out a couple of videos up on it though. Kind of funny though. But anyway, though, I get out the car and I started looking at that line. It was from the door to the side of the building, wrap around that corner, all the way down the strip, all the way down the strip, and then there's like a little part where they're there's like the back corner of that Best Buy where they have like the garages where you can actually go up in and change your radios out and stuff. They mess with your cars and stuff. It was almost down to that point, almost to the wood area where you almost get into like the little bit of the forest. It was that long. I was like, oh shoot. I was like, let me run up here and get up in this line now. And I was like, man, I didn't expect that many people to show up at this midnight launch. I know there was like a good amount of people that lived in my area, all things considering though. I was thinking maybe 40-ish, 50 people at most. No, there was like over 200, maybe 250 from start to finish that were in that line during that midnight launch. And they did not split the lines up. It was all pre-orders and people that also had that were just trying to line up just to get the system on the launch without pre-orders. And it took me, Steven, about 40 or so minutes for me to get around all the way to get my system. I had to wait in line with everybody until I got to the front part of the building. And it was at that point where they had like a Best Buy representative walking up and down the line, and he will get to a certain point where he remember where he left off at, and he'll just go and say, "Hey, did anybody have a pre-order?" And if you did, when I finally got to him, he was like, "All right, cool." Then I got to skip the rest of the line, walk all the way to where the exit of the Best Buy was at, and then they bring out everything that I pre-ordered and stuff. So I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." I was like, dang, I wish there was two separate lines. Could have made this thing really easy though. But that was my only little nitpick though, because I was there for like an additional 40 minutes that I probably shouldn't have really needed to been there for. And
But
man,
to be fair, you didn't have to wait there that early. You got there what 15 minutes before it opened up.
yeah, I was expecting just to, chill out that 15 minutes just to kind of see what the vibe check is. I just kind of want to experience a little bit of it though. But yeah, no. I mean, I could have been waiting longer if I didn't show up that extra 15 minutes. I would have to wait for those other people to get so far ahead of me to where that Best Buy rep would have came down the line and then scanned to get my pre-order or whatever. It would have been a lot easier for me to show up the next day and do it though. But I wanted to just, get my system, get home, and get this stuff downloaded because I didn't know what the servers were going to look like once everybody was connecting up to the internet and stuff. But yeah, that in of a nutshell was my whole entire Best Buy pickup experience. I did not get that coin. I thought I was gonna get that coin. Did you get that coin, Steven? The
I got the
coin?
coin.
Dang, I did not. I didn't get that. I didn't get the patches. None of that mess.
I didn't get the patches. I got the coin.
Okay, all right. But yeah, that was
But
my
yeah, either
whole.
way, I have a slightly.
Oh no, yeah, that was
I'll
just
say,
saying that was
what you
my
saying?
whole. Yeah, that was my whole experience right there. So go ahead and spill yours.
I had a slightly different experience. I was, like Saniki, one of our friends, got to his event, and he was the only one there. So I thought, all right, maybe people aren't lining up too long. Maybe, maybe I have a little bit of time. I'll head out around 10 o'clock. I'll get there around 10:30.
And you live
And then I was
on
like,
the
and then
East
I,
Coast, so it's midnight for you
yeah.
based on these times.
But then I thought, well, it's getting dark, and I don't want to drive when it's too dark. Like around 8 o'clock is when we start getting dark over here. But around 8 o'clock, the roads are still busy. So I didn't want to drive when it was dark and the roads were still busy. So I left around 8 o'clock, got the Best Buy around 8:30, just narrowly avoided like the busyness on the highways. And I sat there and the line was not that okay, well I gotta specify. The line for pre-orders was only about 10 people long. We all had our chairs set up. One of them had a 3DS out playing Pokemon. A couple others had like one of them had a Steam Deck sitting there. They were just hanging out playing games. A couple other people were playing Monopoly, and I'm not joking. They were fucking playing Monopoly on the line
Monopoly, bruh.
because Monopoly's a long game. I completely understand playing Monopoly. Either way though, yeah, they're playing Monopoly, doing whatever else. But then I was just sitting there with my DS. I was with my DS Lite playing Mario Kart DS, which was really fun. And I was talking to some people online. I was asking them, hey, like, what are you most excited for? Were you there for the original Switch launch? And there was the one guy, the guy in front of the line. He got there around 4 hour, like 4 o'clock. So he got there like 8 hours early, and he was first in line. Which
Goodness.
like 8 hours is a lot, but that's still not that bad. The guy on the other line though, for the line that did not have any pre-orders, they got there at 1 a.m. the night before.
Oh,
This guy was literally waiting 23 hours to get his Switch 2.
oh gosh, that's crazy. But then
And they
again, you live
and
up
by the
there in
way,
New York, so I mean, like, well, I
yeah,
don't know
New
how
York's
wild it could have been.
crazy. I really I'm just telling you right now, Zard, there was about 300 people all in line waiting for this damn thing that didn't have pre-orders. So I really hope for their sake that they got their damn Switch 2s in.
Mhm.
Besides that, though, the pre-order line was not that long, but around 10 o'clock, it started growing really fast. Because before that, like, I left the line, like, I went into my car, got a quick snack, but the line got so long, I literally could not leave it.
Oh, when you left the line, you had to re-enter it again, or somebody just recognized, say, "Hey, I got your spot. You can just roll back up here."
Well, yeah, but I didn't want to rely on that because someone could just lie and be like, "Oh, you were in here," and then I just get
Oh,
sent to the back of the line. Either I didn't want to deal with anyone trying to say that I was cutting or this and that. Either way, though, I got we waited online. The pre-order line literally went down the block. Oh no, sorry, the line that didn't pre-order went down the block, and then the other line was just down to the store and back. Either way, like I said, there had to be over 300 people all trying to get a Switch 2 there, which I really hope my store had that many. I heard reports of like I think it was a Best Buy in Washington, in Seattle had like 900.
goodness, that might have been the only Best Buy up in that state. That's crazy.
Either way, that's still Best Buy is obviously a safer bet than something like Walmart. Like
Or even
listen, say
GameStop.
what you will about Walmart. Walmart is not a technology place. Like Walmart is like an end all be all. At Walmart, I get goddamn food. I don't get games and stuff. Best Buy, on the other hand, Best Buy for the most part is technology and appliances. Like you go in there for tech stuff. So I definitely they're definitely a bigger chain. They're absolutely a bigger chain of stores than something like GameStop. So Best Buy, in my opinion, probably was the best place to pick this thing up.
Yeah, I feel
And
like
it
they
was, it
probably
was
had the
fun waiting
most stuff.
online. The Best Buy employees were all very nice. But yeah, besides that, like lines started getting really long. 12 o'clock hit. They let two people in at a time from each line, and they had a sufficient amount of accessories. They had a bunch of games. Oh yeah, they gave us like little slips. They gave us small little slips and were like, "Hey, just cross out what you would like to purchase besides your pre-order."
Oh, so they let you
So
in
I
your
went in,
pre-order
got a
line
controller.
get everything you wanted to pre-order, and you could have bought additional accessories. Dang, I wish mine was handled like that.
Yeah, I got like I got the carrying case plus screen protector combo. I got a little code for fast fusion. I mostly wanted to get that in case something was happening with the eShop and it wouldn't let load or anything.
Ah,
Like, God forbid, I could have just put it in on Nintendo's website. That's what I was thinking.
yeah.
Either way, though, got everything I wanted, and when the first guy walked out with the Switch 2, you could hear everyone clapping.
Ah.
It was funny.
Oh goodness.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, Switch
I
2,
had a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, I heard some clapping here and there for some of the people that were walking out with some of their stuff. Yeah.
It was a great time. It was just it's just cool seeing a bunch of people hanging out, enjoying something, all there for the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing I forgot about mine. I actually brought my 3DS and closed it, and I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can get a street pass. And I was driving
I
into the
definitely
parking
should have.
lot, and I actually picked up a street pass. Not just one, Steven. I think I picked up 10. I was like, bro, this is 2025. I was like, oh, of course,
Well, come
only
on,
an
these are
event
fucking
like
Nintendo
this.
fans.
Yeah, I know. Only at an event like this, I'll ever be able to get a street pass like this. Because nowhere else I could do this out in my area
I don't
and
know. In
probably
my
ever manage to
opinion,
pick one up.
I, well, think about it like this: anyone that's going to a Nintendo midnight event probably is a Nintendo fan, and if they are a Nintendo fan, there is a non-zero chance that they have Street Pass. The it's like a
Not a
common thing at
non-zero,
like
but it's
conventions
more,
to bring your
yeah.
3DS.
Conventions, yeah, that makes perfect sense, though. I wasn't expecting to get anything at a midnight launch, but I don't know. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I live in with me in New York, I probably actually would have gotten a ton if I tried.
Yeah,
If I brought my 3DS, I probably would have gotten a ton. Either way, though, I had a really fun time at my midnight event. I'm glad I got there the hour early than I would have because I would have probably been in the back of the line and had to wait till 1 o'clock to get my damn Switch.
probably. So yeah, so all things considering, it wasn't a bad midnight launch. I'm glad I managed to get my system, get on out of there. I didn't get home until roughly a little past midnight, like 12:20 ish or something like that. I think is when I got home. And gosh, by the time I was done setting up everything and stuff, I stayed up till like 4 o'clock in the morning. Woke up the next morning at like 7 or 8. Was running on barely
Something
somewhere
similar.
between 3 or 4 hours of sleep. I was like, dang, I really should go back to sleep, but I got a new console calling my name, so forget about sleep. Here we go. And I started playing that system for a good chunk of the day. Had to do some
That's
other
been
stuff
me the
during the
last
day,
few
but
days. Yeah.
yeah, and the rest was history. So overall, not a bad midnight launch. Not a bad midnight launch. Can't say I did too many of them. That might be my first and last one. I don't know if I'll do the same thing for a Switch 3 or something in the future, though. I'll get a little older by then. I might just roll it to the Best Buy
You'll
early in the
probably do it
morning
for
or
the next
something.
Smash game.
No, oh, mm, mm, mm. No,
You
I don't think they did
For the next
midnight
Smash
launches
game, you'll
for.
probably do a
I don't
midnight
think
event.
they did midnight launches for Smash Brothers Ultimate, or at least not that I can remember.
Yes, they did.
Did
They
they?
did a ton of them. I remember watching. I remember they had like a little screen up with Game Awards, and then the whole GameStop blew up when Joker got revealed.
Mm, okay. I don't do that too often with games. It's been the last one I think I did was Sun and Moon, but I guess Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun and Moon. It was one
I
of those
did
two out
that
of
one.
Walmart.
I did. It's funny. I did Smash for 3DS and Wii U. I did Pokemon Sun and Moon. I did the original Switch launch. I did Smash Ultimate, and then I did Tears of the Kingdom, and now I did this one.
Huh.
So I've gone to a couple of these, and they're always really fun.
Yeah. All right. All right. So I guess that was it in terms of our midnight
Yeah,
launch.
it's.
Oh what?
I was just saying, like it's from what I've seen, it's a quite common thing that a lot of these lines were really long.
Yeah. Yeah, because I
Like
guess they
looking
had plenty.
online,
They
a
had
lot of
plenty of
people had them.
stock because there weren't no Switch 2s available later on in that day when I went back to visit my Best Buy. So they must have had at least 250 plus units between the pre-orders and walk-ups. So I'm like, yeah, no, they burned through that stock quick. But anyway, I guess that's it for our midnight launch stories and stuff like that. So now let's go ahead and talk about the hardware itself, like when we first unboxed it and everything, though, and then what we managed to pick up while we're at it, though. So I managed to get obviously I got the Mario Kart World physical because I got the standard Switch too. I got both of those. I picked up a Pro controller. I got a Switch carrying case, and then I got the Switch 2 camera. So I managed to pick up one of those, and then I picked up something else for a gift for somebody else, and then that was it. That was basically it. So I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. And I obviously bought the GameCube controller that was shipping here, and then I got the all-in-one case, the Nintendo branded one, but that was being shipped here from Best Buy, so that was gonna arrive that next morning or some point later in the day though. So yeah, that's all the stuff I got. And then when I put that new Joy-Con onto the side of the rail with the magnetized stuff, I was like, dang, this is a lot more sturdier than what I thought it was gonna be. Like Steven, I think you said something about you being concerned about how, likely if you're holding it on just one side of the system with the Joy-Con potentially popping off and stuff. And I was like, well, I don't know. I guess I have to be strong enough to go through all
Yeah.
them tests. But it's a solid system. It's a really solid
Oh, the
system.
Joy Cons are great. I, I, I genuinely love how the system feels. It feels so premium. The console itself is bigger than I thought. I don't know about you, Zard. I've just been fiddling with the magnets. I've just been taking off the Joy Cons, putting them back on. It's a really satisfying feel.
Shoot, I like how you said that's a
Like
satisfying
taking the
feel.
Joy
I
Cons
I went
off,
up.
put,
oh,
put them back on.
I literally got up just to grab my Switch 2 right now, just to mess around with it more in
Yeah.
handheld. I've been doing a bit more playing in dock, but I played a little bit of this in handheld and tabletop though, so I had to put it back in my hands just to kind of capture some of my
Oh,
thoughts. But yeah,
I've I've actually been playing a considerable amount of handheld, and Zard, the screen is really nice. It's not OLED, but like I don't fucking care. It's a nice screen. I just care if it's nice, if it looks nice, and it certainly looks nice. It's like some kind of like I forget what they said. It was like high quality high quality LCD. It's not exactly OLED, but it's also not the original Switch's screen. Or whatever they said. They said something along those lines that it was a really good screen nonetheless. And it is. It is a really good screen.
Yeah, and I was like, I was comparing it to like my original Switch OLED and stuff, and I was like, dang, this screen is so much bigger. And then holding the Joy Cons in my hand, oh man, I like how so much bigger they are because I got some big old hands. And I was like, you know what? This is the perfect size. Not so much the case like when you flip the Joy-Con sideways and stuff, like you can still kind of feel it. It's like it feels a little too small though. But the buttons, like just the D-pad buttons on the Joy-Cons or just the A, B, X, and Y, they're significantly bigger than the other ones where I was like, okay, this actually kind of fits good underneath my thumbs. So I was like, you know what, this is a big old improvement in comparison to what we had originally with the Switch. So I was like, it feels natural to hold these things in my hand now versus have my hands be a little more cramped. So I might be incentivized just a little bit
Yeah,
more
I've
to play my system in handheld.
yeah, the Joy Cons actually feel nice. And I don't know if you had this problem with the original Switch One. When you play in handheld on Switch One, the Joy Cons they like wiggle because the mechanism isn't really that secure. The locking mechanism isn't really that secure. Have you ever had that
Oh
where
yeah, no,
like the Joy
I had
Cons
that.
over time they just start coming off? Like you can push it. It feels like it will break. The original Switch feels like it could break in your fucking hands if you're too
Not
hard
that
on it.
bad to where it will break, but I think I accidentally dropped my Switch at one point. I think it was the OG model Switch, not like the OLED or whatever though. But I think I dropped it at one point. The Joy-Con popped off like real hard, and then ever since then, I could just put just enough pressure on the bottom of the Joy-Con, and it will just shoot off without having to hit the little thing where you're supposed to like slide it up and make it pop off or whatever though. I think that was just
Yeah,
only
so
on that one. The
magnets was
OLED one
obviously
was a
like the
little better, but yeah.
next step.
So
Yeah,
yes,
I'm glad they decided to do magnets. It was a good choice.
yeah, because at least now they had like the whole little stick out piece, so you can't just accidentally pop it off like how you would with a switch. You would literally have to pull it out now in order to get it to come off. And even then, these magnets are strong enough that little button you press like forcibly like sticks it away. I'm curious how strong these magnets truly are because like I was like, dang, for it to hold like that, that's pretty good. Mm.
Yeah, and you were talking about it a little bit, but the Joy Cons genuinely feel really nice in the hand. The control sticks feel slightly different. Uh, apparently though, same mechanism is inside the Joy Cons, so we might be hearing about reports of drift soon. I haven't had it yet, but like yeah,
Possibly.
and that's gonna be really annoying if so, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
Back to positive things though. Joy Cons are nice, and oh my god, we both have it. The Pro Controller. This Pro Controller, I've had it for a couple days. I've been playing with it. This is the best Nintendo controller ever made. I'm just saying it now. I can
Oh
very
yeah.
confidently say that the Switch 2 Pro Controller is the best controller Nintendo has ever made.
And you know what? I was like, for a
Simple.
lot of people, I think before this one came out, a lot of people would think of two different controllers. I think were probably the best of all time: the GameCube controller and the Switch Pro controller. I think those, in terms of Nintendo fans, those were like some of the highly regarded best ones. And then when I put that Switch 2 Pro controller in my hand, because I love the original Switch one, I was like, I started moving them sticks around. I was like, bro, am I holding butter? I was like, that's smooth. And then I started doing like my quick Splatoon 3 Smash Brother like inputs, like just trying to move the stuff real fast. I was like, these aren't clicking nearly as loud. Even the button presses. I was like, bruh, everything's super smooth. I was like, hold up. I was like, dang. And then the matte finish on the thing, it looks really clean. Granted, it doesn't have like grips like what you're kind of accustomed with, like a PlayStation DualSense controller or like the Xbox Series 2 core controllers, where it's like a harder grip. So it does feel a little bit smoother, a little slicker in the hands. If you got some sweaty hands, maybe it'll slip on you a little bit though. But the controller itself just screams comfortability. I was like, man, that's just some good stuff right there. And like what you said, this might be my favorite Nintendo controller of all of time. I was like, I thought I was gonna get something very similar to the Switch Pro, but them smooth sticks, the mappable GL buttons and the GR buttons, not they're there. They're not too much in the way, like how an Xbox Series 2 core like pegs stick out, so it's kind of a little odd. Nah, this feels really natural, and it just feels really great to hold it. And then on top of it, you have like what HD Rumble
Right.
2 and
Like
all of that,
it's
and the headphone
that
jack.
HD Rumble 2 is such a dumb name, but yes, it has HD Rumble 2. It has a headphone jack. It has a C button, so it's definitely convenient if you actually use like game chat and stuff, which I kind of use it once in a while. Either way though, Zard, the most important thing that actually makes this the best controller is the D-pad. It has a real D-pad that works and doesn't fucking suck. Because that's the only reason I don't use my Switch. I don't use my Switch Pro controller anymore because the D-pad is awful. On the original Switch Pro controller, the D-pad just is fucking bad. No words to really blanket that. Just it's a bad D-pad, and this one's better. I tried it. I literally tried to press like the wrong input, and it does not give the wrong input no matter what I do.
Yeah, I like that too because well, yeah,
What is
because
your
we had
experience with the D-pad so far?
the D pad's been fine for me. I don't play it, or at least the games I've been playing the most. Which, in terms of like games I picked up, I already said Mario Kart World. Obviously, the GameCube classics because I got the GameCube controller and stuff. Fantasy Life I and Fast Fusion. Those were the primary four that I was bouncing around and playing at any given moment, along with Tears of the Kingdom to try that one out. And some of those had the D pad and stuff up in it. Some I didn't really have to use it too much, but every time I used it, it's not like I accidentally pressed something outside of me testing and trying to make it act like I was. And at that point, I was probably doing a directional like down left or down right input. And at that point, yes, of course, then it was going to register that. But no, it wasn't accidentally doing anything weird. So I was like, you know what? That's good. That's good news.
You know, it's a very nice feeling. There's a nice feeling everything. I'm glad that Nintendo stepped it up. And I know like, in terms of accessories, you bought the camera, right?
Yes.
Is it a
Yeah. So I bought
camera? Does it work?
Yeah, so I bought the camera, and me and you, Steven, we were testing this stuff. And now, granted, you can use any kind of camera you want as long as it's USB C enabled, or we found out you technically can use stuff with a USB A as well if you have the sucker docked or whatever. Though, same thing applies with microphones as
That's what
well
I
or
use.
headsets. So I was like, oh, okay, cool, because I have a Astro A50X, so I usually have like a USB-C cord on the station itself that's plugged to USB-A. So I plug it into like my USB splitter thing or whatever though. So it's like a four for one spot. And I have both the adapters for the GameCube core accessory where you can plug in your wired GameCube controllers and stuff. So that's using two of the slots. I plugged in the A50X into one of the other slots. So now I can use my wireless headset, hear the audio just fine because it's ripping it from the HDMI spot, but then also use the microphone spot from the USB cable and stuff. So that's really good. But back to the camera though, the camera's good. Like I think in some of our cases when me and you were testing it, it was better or showing up a little bit better on my side than versus your side because you were using some other kind of camera as well. So I was like, oh okay. So
Well,
Nintendo came out with a
okay,
quality one.
sorry. The camera, the camera I have is 1080p. I'm pretty sure the only thing that happened in our case is that I had mine farther away.
Maybe that was the case. Yeah, because I think mine was like what about 6 feet away, and I think when I was
Either
looking at
way, it
yours,
still
maybe
looked good on
10ish.
your end.
But yeah, it looked good. And then I tested it a little bit more today because I had a couple of my younger cousins. One's about like what 7 or 8. The other one's closer like well, one was like 6 or 7. The other one is I said 7 or 8. One's like about 7 years old. The other one is close to almost being a teenager, like in her teenage years or whatever, though. So yeah, so both of them were over, and I had my sister and I had myself, and I was like, "Oh, wait, hold up here!" And we were playing Mario Kart World because I wanted to show that off to him. I was like, "Oh, this is the perfect scenario to go ahead and test this out." So I set up the camera, turning it on, and it had the widescreen shot of everybody. So I was like, all right, I was moving the cursors over where everybody's heads were at. So I actually got to use the camera feature in a local setting, and it tracked everybody's head movements fine. So when you're driving through the courses and stuff, you're able to see everybody's heads and stuff instead of just seeing a player one, two, three, or four up in there though. So that element alone actually kind of makes those little
It
casual
doesn't.
get-togethers, it makes it a little bit more interesting, a little more competitive and stuff.
Yeah, so I tried the same feature, and my brother, he really enjoyed it. He thought it was cool. Um, it doesn't actually track. It doesn't track your head movements.
Not like track,
You
but like
just
it'll
you
just
gotta
remember
select the
where you're
little
at
circle
in the little shot. It does track your head movement if
if
it
you
was just
move.
one person. If it's just one person, like because we were doing that, and I was moving my head around, it was
Okay,
tracking
yeah.
that. But I don't know about like four
In-game chat,
people in
in-game
yeah,
chat. If you
yeah.
select your face only.
Yeah, it will track it that way though. But obviously, if you're playing with four different people in the same room and the camera's trying to pick up four different spots of where y'all at with four different heads, at that point, then it's like you better keep your butt in your chair or wherever you're sitting at in one centralized spot. Otherwise, you might lose that head just a little bit though. But regardless, that's some cool technology they have up in there though. So I'm kind of curious how well they can use this camera feature in the future. I'll definitely probably be picking up the DLC for the Mario Party stuff because I usually have some kind of people I'm always playing Mario Party with from time to time. So I'll get use out of that camera. I'll get some strong use out of it though. So I thought it was something that I might have regretted, but I'm actually thoroughly enjoying it thus far. It's not bad. It's not bad. Anything else you wanted to say on that camera accessory?
Like I said, I like that I can use any USB camera, so I don't have to give Nintendo money for a fucking stupid camera. The camera seems like it's good, but like there's no reason to buy a Nintendo branded camera if I have a camera. That's
The
just
only
my
reason
take
why
on
I,
that
I was kind of personally
personally.
going for it was I
You
think it's because the fact that it had that stand on it and it can just sit on the table naturally at an elevated height, which like my other stuff, it's like it kind of wants to attach to a monitor in some kind of way. So I was like, I could use those, but it would have been weird to prop it at just the right spot. But that one kind of did it all for me. So I was like, whatever. Eh. But yeah,
No,
so
yeah, I get you. It's cool though. I hope a decent amount of games support it, and it's not just a thing that you buy and then use once and then never again.
outside of the game chat
Because they've
stuff,
been
which
going
you'll get your
hard in the
use out of
marketing
that.
with it. Like they keep showing the camera. Yeah, yeah, they keep showing the camera. They keep showing game chat in the marketing. So I hope they actually use it a decent amount. Whether it's just for party games or maybe I'm trying to think of other uses. Like Kirby Air Ride will probably definitely have it. Um, I don't know. I can think of a couple fun examples. Just most couch co-op games can have it like as your lives icon, or have it show up during a portion of gameplay. Smash Ultimate should have it down by the stock icon. Would be fine.
Oh yeah, that
Or
would
not
be
Smash
cool.
Ultimate,
Yeah,
but just the next Smash game.
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's got its applications to be fun, but it's not really an important feature, really.
yeah. It's just a
Besides
social.
that, though, uh, if I had to give a roundabout review of the hardware, I'd say a solid A. It just everything feels really nice to use.
It feels premium. It doesn't feel like it's gonna break on you, and it feels like it's gonna stand up to time. Obviously, yeah, we gotta wait and see how it does truly hold up, though. But I mean, I don't feel like anything on this system should honestly degrade, at least not by quite a bit. I mean, shoot,
Besides
even
the
the
Joy
dock.
Cons,
Well, the Joy Cons, we'll have to wait and see on that. And at least the dock has like a cooling mechanism up in it. So hopefully, I don't have this day one Switch 2 that shouldn't overheat like my day one Switch 1. So that's why I'm fingers crossing it. I put that thing through its paces. That thing is running on live support right now. I should honestly
oh,
send that back
there
to
has
Nintendo to
been.
fix it, but I don't know.
Just make sure to watch for a battery expand. Like the battery can like start expanding. Please watch your Switch for that. some people have reported that the battery is like expands and something's going
Oh
wrong
yeah,
with
no,
people's
I heard
batteries.
about that. My OLED one's still doing good. My Monster Hunter Rise limited edition one is still doing good. I have to double check on that original Switch one. I think it's fine, but it's in a case somewhere in my room or something. I don't know.
I think it's just a thing with how they're transported. With like lithium ion batteries is always weird. I always
Yeah.
hear.
But yeah, so I think that's it in terms of what we thought about the hardware. Now let's go ahead and jump up in the Mario Kart world here real quick. Cause goodness, this game right here, yeah, man. A lot of people were drowning on the game or dunking on the game because of the fact that it was what $80 normally. Yes, you can buy it for $50 technically if you got it as part of the Mario Kart World bundle, which is only going to run up to like fall of this year, and then after that they might discontinue it. They might rebrand it for holiday season. Who knows? We just know it's up until fall at the latest. But all things considered, if you throw that behind the window, this is a really solid game. Like, whole freaking shoot. Look, I know some other people were also dunking on this game thinking that, oh, it only is going to have like what, 8 cups? It had 7 that we know about. We knew there was going to be an 8 with a special one you're probably going to unlock. And each one of them is going to have about 4 courses, roughly a pop. So you're already looking at 32 courses. Probably was a little bit less because I felt like they repeated a couple of them, though,
I
but
don't know.
whatever.
Anyone that complains that a Mario Kart game has like around 30 courses, like I don't know. And basically every Mario Kart, every Mario Kart game since DS has had 32 tracks at launch. This one only has 30, but still, people are still playing games like Double Dash that only have 16 courses because guess what? They're fun games and they're good courses. So in my opinion, it the quality of the courses matters. And I do think a lot of the courses in this game are fun. Especially with, like the new movement options which we will get to. The game is just a very fun game overall, and there's a lot of things, a lot of factors, including the 24 players and the movement, that make the courses a lot more replayable than they would be otherwise. Because like I don't know, some of the courses, like some people might say that they're a little open, like it's a wide road, and that some of them might be a little more simple than the courses from 8. But like, yeah, 8 had the whole anti-gravity thing going on. This game's definitely got more of like a trick thing going on. Nice, more open space to do tons more stuff in. Which,
Yeah,
it really depends on the person, honestly, if they like that kind of thing or not. But at least for me, I absolutely love how these courses feel, and I love how they look as well. This is a beautiful game.
speaking of beautiful, oh shoot, any spot in the game that deals with water, where you're racing across the rivers or racing parts of the ocean and stuff like that, it makes me crave a new wave race game. Look here, Nintendo. If y'all don't give me a new wave race game during this generation on this console, you're sleeping on your morals, man. Because I feel like with the extra power up in this system now, and the 4K and all of that stuff, and your HDR and everything else you got going on with this, and some games run at 120, it's about gosh dang time we bring back wave race. It's been since the GameCube, man. But anyway, though, the water physics up in this game is crazy. Like everything in this game, it just looks absolutely beautiful. And then just to piggyback off of when you were talking about all the different courses and stuff, I know some people are thinking, oh, is this gonna be bland when you're racing from one course to the other though? But there's so many different speed paths, so many different cars that might be coming at you and stuff like that. The off-roading that you have to kind of do to get from one point to the other, and then there's this random stuff that might just be out there on the road that gives you those little speed boosts and stuff. In fact, you can grind on the walls, grind on the rails and stuff like that. Along with the fact there's 24 people that can compete up against you,
Yeah,
though.
the
There's so many different combinations that you can get from one course to the other. And if you were to go through and like do a private lobby, like me and Steven did this before, there's so many different combinations you can do from either just the traditional 3 laps around the course or going from one course to the other or another course from the other. There's like over 100 something different combinations. Even though there's only 30 something courses, the combinations of all of the different routes that you can do are well over 100. So sometimes I'll be doing certain stuff where it'd be
200.
like, yeah, Oh, 200. Gosh dang.
Yeah.
I'll be doing some stuff and I'll be like, I do a certain kind of combination. And I'm like, dang, I don't remember this part of the course at all. And then, especially when you go around and free roam and do all that stuff, you see all of it laid out in front of you, though. And you can see where
Yeah,
some of the spots were blocked off whenever you did a certain race. And it's like,
it's like
dang,
Tour. Tour definitely kind of experimented with the idea of the courses being bigger than they usually are, which I think it really works in this game because like a course like Sky High Sunday, it's really big when you're not like when you're racing on it, it's a completely different feel from when you're exploring it. And Knockout Tour and some of the other intermissions actually use those things. Which, by the way, it really does lead to like a very interesting situation with the online, where I don't know if you've seen this, but with the online, like let's just say I race from Peach Beach, the Koopa Troopa Beach. Then the next online match, like when we end the match, we'll be free roaming in Koopa Troopa Beach, and then we'll travel from Koopa Troopa Beach to the next location. Like the course that you finished, you travel from that course. So
yeah,
like
so,
if you stay in an online lobby for like a while, you'll eventually just kind of go around the entire map. Like you'll be circling around the map basically, which I think is a really fucking fun idea. Um,
oh,
and
yeah.
the intermissions, I was worried. I was worried the intermissions were gonna fucking suck, and that they were gonna be the least interesting thing about the game. But they actually do a lot to make the intermissions enjoyable. Like obviously there are tons of sections where you go through traffic, and people always love the courses where you go through traffic. Some of the courses with traffic are people's favorites in Mario Kart. Like I'm just thinking, at least for me, I love Moonview Highway. People love Toad's Turnpike. Some of those traffic courses are really fun. There are cars that come by that are shooting bombs. I can't speak. There are like bonsai bill launchers that come across the course. There are like mushrooms that get dropped on the course randomly. I seen this one car that was just dropping bombs on the course.
Saw that
There's a
sucker
bunch of
too, and I was like, bro, you don't stop dropping your mess all over this gosh dang course. I was like, bro, so help me.
yeah. There are items that are coming down on parachutes. There's this and that. Obviously, sometime it will turn from day to night, which is a really fun mechanic.
And Steven, do you notice this too? Whenever every time someone uses the lightning bolt, it usually just rains just for a brief period of
Yeah,
time right after that.
I, I really like that. Especially, I think it was on DK Spaceport. It was nighttime and it was raining. It's a really nice atmosphere. I honestly wish that I wish that you could select either day or night in versus race because
Oh
it's
yeah,
really nice.
that would be nice.
Besides that, though, intermissions have a lot going on, and then yeah, obviously the wall riding and the rail riding make intermissions so much more interesting. You could like you can rail ride on the power lines. You can do this. You can do that. You can jump when you have a giant mountain. You can wall ride off of the side of that, and then you do the one lap around the course at the end, which some people were kind of annoyed that it was only one lap around the course. But that's yeah, if it was 3 laps after traveling to it, you probably would have like a 5-minute course on your hands, and no one likes a course in Mario Kart that's too long.
Unless it's
So I
knockout tour.
completely understand that. Personally though, I love the intermissions. I think they did a good job making them all feel pretty fun. There's probably a couple intermissions that are boring, but I just haven't found them yet. And then
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
for
no.
versus race, let's just say that you're at doing couch co-op with friends or even online, you're just playing in lobby online, you have tons of different combinations. Let's just we could just be like, oh, I've never played this intermission. Let me select that. It kind of provides for a bunch of unique experiences to play with friends.
Yeah,
And
and I will say this in terms of like favorite courses. That new Rainbow Road, because we all knew that it was going to be up there. We just didn't know what it would look like, though. Gosh dang freaking beautiful. Like, oh, shoot.
not
That
yeah,
mess
I'm
was the
not gonna say
stuff.
much because you all should enjoy it.
But yeah, that was cool. The new Bowser's Castle, that got my jaw to drop just a little bit. I was like, what the heck? And then anywhere that you're racing on any courses that had the water physics and all of that stuff up in there, that always gave me a good feeling in my They always gave me a good smile on my face anytime I was racing across the water. They did that all of those segments really well.
Oh, and then there's the truck. Like once in a while, when you're racing, there would be like a big truck or a big boat or a big helicopter that you can climb in, and it will like take you to the front, like give you a massive lead, which I
Hmm.
think is really cool. Just this like arcadey feel, where like you have this one item that like this big item that can take you to the front of the front and kind of change the odds. And that kind of leads me into another big part about this game besides the intermissions that makes the game a lot more interesting. 24 players is chaotic as hell combined with
Oh
with the
heck
items.
no!
This game
Oh
introduces
heck no!
this game introduces a lot of items that make things more chaotic. Like for example, the feather being available in actual races is really fun because not only can you take tons of new shortcuts with the feather, and it makes it a lot easier to take shortcuts, but you can also dodge items a lot easier.
I think that's the only time the feather really comes into play because it's like it's so situational depending on when and where you use it though.
I think you just
But
have
I
to know
think
where.
you just need to know where and depending on how much chaos is going around you, just jumping sky high up in the air can make you dodge like a lot of crap. It can make you at least dodge a bullet bill if it were honing in from you from the back though.
And you got to remember that you can use the feather after already doing like a trick jump and get like an even longer jump.
Or yeah, to stay up in the air just as long. Yeah, yeah. And because between all the new grinding mechanics, like the rails, the wall grinding and stuff like that, or just doing just a midair hop. I did a midair hop just to dodge a silly old red shell or whatever. If you got the timing just right, you can do that. And
Yeah,
it's like, bruh,
charge jumps, wall riding, and rail riding are insane new mechanics. Like, let's just say I'm on a straightaway and I'm not doing much. You could charge up a charge jump. You could look behind you, charge a charge jump, try to jump over an item, or you could use a charge jump to like jump over and trick on some cars, or you could use a charge jump to jump over like a slight small turn of off road. You can jump on the railings with it, jump on the walls a lot easier with it. The charge jump is one of the biggest mechanics they've ever introduced to Mario Kart because it kind of perfectly transitions into all the other mechanics they introduced. And then a hidden mechanic they really didn't talk about this one. Uh, 360-degree item aiming. If you move the camera with the right stick during gameplay, you can shoot certain items to the side of you, or just any direction around you, not just in front or behind you.
yep. So
Which
hey, when you
I
got
I
that
have already
fireball,
seen Zard. I've already seen so many bob-omb trick shots. It's not even funny. The moment
man,
people found out about this mechanic, like I seen this one clip in Wario Stadium where they jump off of a ramp, throw a bob-omb like way ahead in the course, and then it snipes first place, makes them lose. You can fuck with people so fun in such funny ways.
I was about to say, yeah, because I'm so used to throwing stuff forward and backwards. So whenever I learned about that mechanic, I mapped the GL button on my Pro controller as the A button. So if I need to, I can hit that to free up my right thumb that's normally on the A button. Then I can move the cursor around and then shoot the trigger finger on like the ZR button to shoot at whatever I'm aiming, and then reset my buttons to where I normally do my standard driving. So hey, that
Yeah,
actually got me to use my remappable buttons for the first time. I was like, that was actually pretty cool once we learned about that little bit of information. So now
yeah.
it's like
I
if
have
I'm grinding on the side rail, I see some people like trying to pass me up on my right, hit that GL button, turn that right stick a little bit, and just start chunking a bunch of fireballs or ice balls or whatever at them now.
yeah,
So
and if
yeah,
you don't if you don't have the mappable buttons, you can just use auto accelerate, which is already an option in the game, which is
that
nice.
actually is going to probably be used a lot more now, maybe in the competitive scene for Mario Kart for just this reason alone, to be honest.
Well, yeah, at least for me, I have my GL button set to A, so I don't really have a problem with this, but I'm glad they have it.
Yeah, no, that's it's cool all things considering though. So I was like, you know what? There's a lot of new interesting stuff up in this, including just the free roam. Because like, what you're going around doing P switches, hitting question blocks. That yeah, question block marks that gets you to unlock a little bit of stuff though, and then peach medallions. Those are the three primary things you're doing. out there in the open world though, and it's cool how you can just do up queues with your friends or whatever though. You can take pictures and all of that stuff. So it seems like this is going to be a game that's going to be running for quite some time, especially with the combinations of all the different courses you can go from one spot to the other. It's going to keep having people coming back along with the knockout tour and all of that though.
Yeah,
Because
I'm playing free roam right now. Actually, it's fun to just mess around.
yeah, so I was like, hey, you know what? All things considered, I feel like I said that way too much in this episode alone. A really solid, nice start off to the Switch 2 in terms of a great launch title. And honestly, it's we'll see exactly how many copies this game sells from start to finish and see if it gets anywhere remotely close to where 8 Deluxe was at. Because 8 Deluxe was at like 70 something plus million. So it's like,
I
hey,
heard reports that the Switch 2 in its first day sold 3 million units, which
yeah, I
that's a
heard the
lot.
same thing too. And if that were true and if that's the case, it's easily well on beating the record for PS4 and
PS5.
PS5, which were what was it? Four and a half,
I
four and
think
a half
three,
million,
yeah,
four and a half
in the first
million in the
three
span of
months.
2 months. 2 months. It's 2 months.
2 months. Yeah, it's
Eh,
definitely going to beat that by the first month, especially because I think Walmart just tonight actually came in with a new Walmart, like online, came in with a new shipment of Switch 2s, and they said they had double the stock, and I think that's already out of stock.
Oh, double the stock of what they had on the launch day.
I think so.
Oh
Something along those lines. Either way, though, it's a lot.
goodness. So yeah, so overall, I've been thoroughly enjoying this. I've been using all of the different game chat features and stuff with it too. So you know what? Honestly, a really good game from Nintendo though. And I'm gonna enjoy all the time up in it. I think the main thing I'm trying to do is just try to unlock some of these a few extra characters and stuff. And I'm trying to figure out what the heck is the requirement for the mirror mode, Steven, because that's in here. And we're like what you said in one of our calls, it's
Trust
the
me,
wild, wild
I
west, because
know.
you can't we can't have these games data mined anymore. So it's like if you want to figure stuff out, you gotta go to the Reddit forums, you gotta start digging up on the internet and stuff.
No,
And
don't
people can
worry,
easily
Zard.
people can easily
It,
fake some stuff now though. So the community is still trying to figure out what's the actual hardcore requirement. Because as of the point of this episode when we're airing it right now, no one officially knows what those numbers are. We're thinking it's somewhere on the lines of how many P switches, peach medallions, the combination of completing all the Grand Prix or the knockout tours. Because Stephen, right
yeah,
before this podcast, I hit my 40 P switches, I hit my 10 medallions. I technically got 11, but I'm pretty sure it would probably be 10.
and
And I
some people
complete
are
and I complete
saying
oh what? Well, and
some
I
people are
complete
saying you gotta beat Special Cup again, and I can't verify that.
so here's what I did. So I did 40 P switches. I did 10 plus medallions. I'm at 11 now. And I didn't do any knockout tours, Steven. I might have done one knockout tour, but it's not enough to, do all of them as a set or whatever though. And I went back and beat Special Cup. Nothing unlocked. So if I do the same thing again, I'm not going to try to get any more peach medallions or P switches. I'm just gonna try to go through and do all the knockout tours. If I complete all of those again and then do Special Cup one more time, and if I get the mode, then we know what it is. Because I don't know about you, Steven, but I also have 10 of the question mark block things as well. I'm gonna leave it at that
I got
and
like
finish the
15 of
rest.
those.
Oh, you have 15 whenever you try to beat Special Cup again?
Yeah, listen, I'm pretty sure you have to
Hmm.
get a. To my knowledge, if I had to make a guess, I think you need to get a gold in every 150cc cup. So every 150cc cup, you need to get a gold,
Well,
including
I
for
do have a
knockout
gold
tours.
in every one. Oh,
That's
but
what
if
I
it's
think it is.
but if you think it's also knockout, then that means
I
you
think
have to
so.
get first place in every one of the.
It
But I
it
can't remember if
it
Kyle
has to
said
be.
if he did get first place in every one of those.
He did. When in the knockouts, I don't know.
I just had
I
to
genuinely
verify that with him. Hmm.
I don't know. It's really tough to unlock it so far. Mostly because I replayed Special Cup thinking, oh, I'm about to get it, and then I didn't get it,
Hmm.
and it's weird because I usually don't really care about mirror mode, but like
I
once I
really
unlock mirror
don't,
mode,
but at the same point, I just want to have all my stuff unlocked because in all my other previous games, I have everything basically unlocked, minus like the
yeah, because
what the
then I can go
gold.
through again.
like the cold cart gold tires and all of that, man. It's whatever though. But outside of that, I had pretty much everything else unlocked. And that's a major mode right there. And I want it unlocked. And I'm like, bro.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think of some other things to say about this game because we're going on for a while here. I don't want we're gonna be finishing up soon. The music in this game is fantastic. Every single track, everything's great.
Yeah, no, there's some good remixes up in here. Heard some stuff from Luigi's Mansion, 3D World plus Bowser Fury, Super Mario Bros.
Some
2, Super
WarioWare in
Mario
here.
World, Wario. What you said? Wario World music or WarioWare?
WarioWare.
Or WarioWare music of it. So a lot of different Mario branded, or I said branded, but a lot of different Mario IPs out there, and they got like a lot of great music representation up in there and stuff. Toad's Factory music that still slaps. I still love that theme. Every time that thing comes on, it's like, hold up, turn this mess up. It's so good. It's so good. The remake, so good. But yeah, I think I'm about all Mario Kart Worlded out at the moment, though. And then obviously if something else new or something cool, exciting pops up. We'll talk about it in future episodes or whatever, though. But Steven, did you have any other last thoughts for Mario Kart World,
I love this game. It's not worth $80.
bro?
It's not. Come on, Zard. You know it to be true. It's not worth $80. If they give us DLC for free, that might change. But in its current state, no, this is a 60, maybe $70 game at its core. Maybe honestly, with the fact that it only has 30 tracks, $60. But I love this game nonetheless. It's a really fun game. It's got tons of polish. This was the perfect launch title for the system.
Yeah, it
And
was
we got
definitely.
Donkey Kong in a month, so it's not like we have a single player outage.
Oh yeah, no, this will hold me over between this, Fantasy Life
Fantasy Life,
I,
yeah.
and Fast Fusion. I'll probably be rotating between those three games and a little bit of GameCube stuff here and there though. That'll take the majority of my time for June all the way up until the moment of July. I think that's primarily what I'm playing. So Mario Kart World's my multiplayer. Fantasy Life I is my single player. Well, I you can technically do multiplayer in that one too, but predominantly that's been first um golly. Single player for me though. But anyway though, so honestly some really good stuff. And I think that's it in terms of the launch game itself. I think the last thing we have to talk about with this shiny new system, Stevens, is the backwards compatibility, what you were able to do with some of these other past games. Because man, I booted
Yeah,
up Tears of the Kingdom, you booted up Breath of the Wild. That was crazy seeing these games run at 60 FPS. I was like, what the heck? These feel like brand new games.
yeah, very consistent 60 FPS as well. Load times are pretty good as well, much better. Um, but that's the thing. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like I'm not gonna use the stupid ass mobile app to get the notes. Like I don't care about
Oh, that's
getting
why I forgot to boot up. Gosh, dang it. Okay, I got to do that at some other point though. I knew
yeah,
I
I don't know.
forgot something.
It does add new content. It's kind of cool, but like I don't know, it's cool on a first playthrough. I don't think if I'm going through these games again. I don't really think I want to stop at every location and check. Oh, do I have a new thing to do here? Do I have a new voice line? This and that. It's neat though. Like I said, it's cool that they went in and they did this and 60 FPS for these games, especially Tears of the Kingdom. My God. I haven't played it yet, but I know you've played it, and I can only imagine how good that feels. Because that game, especially when you're building, felt like it was at 20 FPS. Have you tried building stuff?
Oh
Is
yeah,
it
no,
60?
I hadn't really messed around with building. Like I messed around with like moving stuff around, but not like trying to build a whole bunch of crap. But no, I
Yeah,
imagine it's still solid.
played it in handheld mode too. I think it runs a 1080 60 in handheld mode, which is really funny because it runs better in handheld mode on Switch 2 than it ran docked in Switch 1.
Yeah, all things. Yeah, no, yeah, that's crazy. And then not even just the stuff that had Switch 2 editions. Like I messed around with Fantasy Life I, and that had a Switch 2 edition. Now it's just running like as if like it was like the PC or the PS5 versions. That runs like a buttery smooth 60. I'm like, oh thank goodness, because that's the way I'm playing the game for the
Yeah,
rest of the time. That was like what, a $2 and something cents upgrade or whatever. So I'm glad I
which is
still picked it
weird,
up on
but
Switch.
I
Yeah,
kind of wish there were some games with free upgrades. Sonic X Shadow Generations, you can't even upgrade. You have to buy
yeah.
the game again.
Yeah, so some of them are weird. Some of them you do get for free, and a lot of them are just like, hey, you got to pay upwards to the amount of $10 or something like that. And
Yeah,
then people started experimenting around and started putting in some of their older games and seeing, well, what games run naturally a little bit better. Me and you, Steven, we both tested out Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The load speeds up on that mess is so much better. And the fact that now it's using that Wi Fi 6 and all of that, hey, your online matches with Smash
right.
Bros. Actually running a little bit better than what they
Well,
were
we
on the
could be
Switch 1.
crazy because Yoshi, one of our friends, has Ethernet. We could be crazy, but even he said it feels a little better. We, but that's not confirmed. Like we don't know for sure. It
Yeah.
might actually be better. N64 and GameCube. By the way, we'll touch on it really quick because they are old games. But GameCube Online runs pretty good. We had fun with it. We're gonna keep playing it. We'll have NSO versus up soon enough for it.
Oh yeah, no, because F-Zero GX, that looked like a freaking remaster running on this app, like with the widescreen support and stuff that's naturally in the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, this is legit a remaster. Like, gosh, it doesn't even look that good. Oh, obviously it
Well, because the
doesn't. But
resolution, it got a resolution bump too.
yeah, like they get the natural resolution bumps and stuff like that because it's just obviously emulating the game and whatnot, though. So I was like, dang, if I put in my OG F-Zero GX and my actual GameCube, it pales in comparison to the way how this thing looks. I was like, oh shoot. But anyway, though, that's really good. The fact you get the online stuff, and there's a little tease up in there for those that don't know. If you boot up the GameCube, I'm doing this right now on my little Switch 2 in front of me though. If you hold the control stick, the left stick, in any direction after you launch it, it actually does a little GameCube startup thing. Like the boom. It actually does that right before you're actually brought up into the
Yeah.
menu itself. So I like those little teases of little Easter eggs that you get just by
It
doing
makes
little
me
things
think.
like that.
It makes me think: is the Wii one gonna have the Wii menu if they ever do
What would
Wii?
that one do to just be like the
No, like I could only imagine. What if the Wii one has the entire Wii menu? Like you select the games from a different menu, the Wii menu.
oh god.
I think it'd
Huh?
be cool, personally. Just kind of change up the whole look. Maybe only if you connect a Wii remote, it will look like the Wii menu.
No, I
It
feel
will
like no,
definitely have to
it
have the
probably would
music.
do. I bet you no, I bet you they'll keep the layout the same. But if you did the thing like with the GameCube thing and hold the stick up in a certain direction or whatever though, then they might actually have a different infrastructure for it, like with with the channels and stuff. Maybe they'll do something like that. But now that you mention
I
that,
hope so.
I could see them doing that for nostalgia's
Either
sake.
either way though, it's really cool.
Yeah, no.
Besides that, in terms of upgrades for older games, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is playable. It works now. It's I can't really be so excited about it. I'm It's not that I'm excited that Scarlet and Violet works now. I'm just glad I can yeah, it's whiplash. I've been playing that game in like unstable 20 FPS, seeing it triple the frame rate. Oh my god. It feels like an entirely new game at this point, and it's kind of sad that Game Freak is like this. But at the same time, yeah, I might replay Scarlet and Violet now because of this.
Hey, it's crazy to seeing that many more Pokemon actually show up on the thing though. So yeah, no. After seeing what the system's able to do, yeah, ZA, that's an easy, easy Switch 2 edition purchase right there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Um, here's the thing about ZA though. Did they say if it was 60 FPS or not? I just don't remember.
I can't remember if they officially said it though, but more than likely not, based on that little bit of footage that we got in one of those directs. I'm pretty sure that that would be the case.
All right, cool. I am very excited for what Pokemon could hopefully do on Switch 2. 60 FPS better be the baseline. Like, I can deal with the game being a little fuzzy resolution wise, but it needs to run well. These games need to run well.
Yeah, no, they
Especially
all.
because Pokemon is all about exploration. I can't explore in a 20 FPS world and have fun.
Mm,
Besides that, though, in terms of games that were already good that got performance updates, they didn't have to do this. But Mario, I think Mario Odyssey is now 4K 60, and holy shit, man! That's all I'm gonna say. Because I don't know if you remember, Mario Odyssey had a dynamic resolution. It would go as low as 540p because the main objective was for it to preserve 60 FPS. So as long as it preserved 60 FPS, the resolution could change to whatever. But now it basically always runs at upscale 4K 60, which when you actually play the game, it is a huge, huge difference. Sorry.
yeah, I think Odyssey was that one that I had never popped up into my Switch yet. I had to mess around with that one.
It just looks very nice. The only other thing they added to Odyssey was game share, but the resolution looks great.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, and I think we.
Besides that,
Oh, go
oh
ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna say. Besides that, I have it, but I haven't tried it. I know they added Game Builder Garage. They added mouse support. I think for ARMS, the game now always runs in 60 FPS, up to the 30.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of any noticeable ones. It's not a Switch 2 update, but Fortnite got a new version on Switch 2. Fortnite on Switch 1 ran like shit. Fortnite on Switch 1 was like 15 FPS. It is now 60 FPS for the most part around the board.
Okay.
Runs much better. They also added mouse controls, which for a game like Fortnite is really fucking good.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they just did that in the update like yesterday.
Ah, okay. So it wasn't their day one. Okay.
No.
Yeah, because I'm looking at some of this other stuff that's up on here, and I'm like, Nintendo has truly outdone themselves, and I just want to congratulate them on the fact that we got the voice chat thing to work. Because literally right before I aired this podcast, I was on the call with one of my good friends that I had honestly hadn't spoke to like over the phone, like voice wise. Gosh, for like I feel like a few years though, but we just happened to message each other back and forth or whatever though, and I was on a game chat session with him for like a solid hour while we were just playing Mario Kart World, both of us sharing our screens or whatever. Though got to finally catch up on some other stuff that we were meaning to talk about and stuff though. And I was like, man, just to be able to do that with other people that may not necessarily you might not keep up with Discord like how I do with you on Discord or whatever though, but just being able to do that with any of my other buddies and stuff, whether it be family members or friends that I know will probably have a Switch to, and they can get their voice chat stuff set up because I mean you had the built-in microphone and stuff like that. Like it's not that hard to get all your stuff set up, but if you got headsets or whatever, you can use that as well though. Man, I was like, man, this feels like leaps and bounds over the predecessor. Even though at the end of the day, it's just a better running Switch One that's more capable. I think that's honestly all that what we really
It's a
needed.
lot
Because yeah,
it's a lot more than that, really.
it's
Like
a
if you
lot
think
more than
about
that.
it, like
At the
with
yeah.
all of the stuff,
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know, with the stuff that they've added, the magnetic Joy Cons are, the magnetic Joy Cons are really cool. The mouse sensors, the mouse. People are saying that the mouse is a gimmick, but since it comes with the system, a lot of games should hopefully be using the mouse features, which I'm very excited for.
Yeah,
The mouse is interesting. HD Rumble 2 might be more useful. I don't know. Really, the only game on Switch 1 that made actual good use of HD Rumble was 1-2 Switch, funnily enough.
hmm
At least inside of the Joy-Cons, 1-2 Switch actually had some cool mini games. Um, Besides that, like I said, the mouse, the gyro. I don't know if the gyro is better, but it feels better, so that's definitely a start. Everything involving just the UI is really clean. I like the sound effects. I hope they eventually give us themes. The eShop is buttery smooth, which finally extremely smooth eShop. Everything with game share is nice. Like, yeah, I wish that the screen sharing was a little less choppy, but overall, it's not terrible. Like being able to share a camera view is really fun, and game share is just really easy to use. Just press the button, invite people, and there you go.
Mhm.
And then besides that, like I'm just very excited to go into this next generation because Switch 2 is just an objective improvement in every way over Switch 1. I can't think of anything that Switch 1 does better.
No, not really, because even games like the Hyrule Warriors game, like Age of Calamity, people went and tested that out. A lot of those games, or just games in general, they had uncapped frame rates. The Switch 2 was pushing it up and over to where it was getting locked at 60, like Bayonetta 3. It was shooting to get 60,
Yeah,
and
any
it will kind of fluctuate quite a bit on the Switch 1. Now you run it on the Switch 2, it's a
oh,
solid 60. I'm like, bruh.
I was thinking about that. Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom are now solid 60, which oh my god, finally.
Oh yeah, because you'll get to like that swampy area in like one of those games, and it's like, bruh, or no, Link's Awakening is what I'm thinking of, and
Link's
it's like, bruh,
Awakening
yeah.
sucks with the frame rate.
And I think they did an improvement with even Echoes of Wisdom. Like you could do something with your favorites or something with some of those echoes, so you don't have to scroll through as many of
Yes,
them or something. And I was like,
you can
bruh,
now set favorites, which makes Echoes of Wisdom a lot more fun.
goodness, they needed to been do that, bruh.
Yeah, I trust me, I know.
Ooh, but yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that we managed to kind of play around with, test. I feel like we tested and dabbled around with mostly everything that was brand new that's on this system, including some, Switch One games, obviously the Switch Two games and stuff like that, and everything else. Because as I mentioned, Fast Fusion, both of us picked that up. I have Fantasy Life I on the Switch 2 version. We both have Mario Kart World and the GameCube NSO app and stuff. The only other game that you have that I don't have, I think, is Welcome Tour. And I think that's about it, right? Like, you didn't pick up any of the other third party things like a Cyberpunk, Yakuza Zero. I'm debating on Yakuza Zero. I don't know. But you didn't pick up any other stuff like that, did you?
So I picked up Street Fighter 6, which I might have told you about,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
which I played that with my dad. He had fun. It looks really nice, honestly. I think Street Fighter 6 is one of those miracle ports where Street Fighter 6 is 60 FPS, looks really nice, and has crossplay with all the other versions and has all the latest content.
Hmm, that's pretty
Sonic
good.
X Shadow Generate. I have to look up how Sonic X Shadow Generations performs. If Sonic X Shadow performs well, I honestly might triple dip on that game
Triple dip.
because
What?
I have it on PC and I have it on PS5.
Oh, gosh.
You don't get it. It's so fucking good. It's
I know it's good, but is it triple dipping worth good?
yes, yes it is.
Uh,
It is absolutely triple dip worthy. Personally,
all righty then. If you say so. I
oh
don't know. I
Sonic
really like the
Sonic
game, but I probably want to
Generations.
be buying it 3 times though.
Yeah, well, yeah. Either way, like yeah, oh yeah, I have Welcome Tour. I'm the only one that has Welcome Tour out of all of us, I think.
The only reason why I didn't get is because some of the mini games or whatever though they say, hey, mess around with your 120 FPS or potentially up to 120 or
Yeah,
your
I
4K
had
resolution. I'm like, I don't have a TV that does all of that, so I'm like, yeah.
well, here's the thing. I genuinely don't know if my TV has 120 FPS or not. It was really hard for me to tell when the thing came up. So I don't know. I might have to switch to handheld mode to do the 120 FPS stuff, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, that's not
Yeah,
bad.
all all good games. I'm enjoying myself. Oh yeah, we both played it. Fast Fusion's great. Just really quickly. We're gonna play it more. Like once we're all Mario Karted out, we're gonna play more Fast Fusion and get back to you on that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think.
Besides that, I think we have officially, after 2 hours and 40 minutes, we have officially gone over everything that happened this week. Oh my god.
Oh gosh, yeah, because I was looking at the timestamps on all of this stuff. w- between the first three shows, PlayStation, Summer Game Fest, and Xbox, surprisingly, that took like an hour and 20 something plus minutes. I was like, oh gosh, you still got to talk about
A
the
lot
Switch
to
2
talk
stuff.
about.
I was like,
Yeah,
dang.
we had a lot to talk about, and that's really, I don't care if I stay a couple extra minutes because it's been a busy week, and I've been staying up till 3 a.m. fucking every day, anyways.
Let's say, man, I've been putting off the gym quite a bit for the past few days. I might have to put it off tomorrow morning as well
Switch
because I
two is
still
more
got some.
important.
I still got some more anime episodes to catch up on because I've been putting a lot of time in the Switch too. I got to get caught up on some of these episodes though.
Switch two is
So
more important.
you keep saying that, man. Health is important too. How else are you gonna be playing the system
Oh,
though,
I love health. Health is more important, but Switch two, you know,
bro?
gotta enjoy that. You gotta improve your health so you can enjoy the fun things in life, like Switch two.
That's what I'm saying though, and I've been putting off the health stuff. But anyway though, my schedule
Or
should
the
be getting back
gym.
to.
Skipping the gym for 1 week is not gonna make you die.
It's not gonna make me die though, but I kind of feel it. It's like dang, because my body kind of craves some of the habits and stuff. But anyway though,
I guess
re-
so.
outside of all of that, that's gonna truly do it in terms of this big old fat episode of your summer gaming bonanza, if you want to call it though. So we covered the PlayStation, we covered the Summer Game Fest, we covered the Xbox, as well as the Switch 2 launch stuff. It doesn't get much more wilder than that. This almost happened to turn out to be a 3 hour long podcast. I rarely ever do that. I always try to stay within two. So if you happen to be, sticking with us all the way to the very end of this, whether you've been watching that mess in chunks, because it's honestly hard to watch anything 2 hours all in one sitting now. I highly applaud y'all. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time just to be able to sit down and just listen to a couple of dudes just gush over all things gaming, though. But yeah, that's truly gonna do it in terms of this one episode. I'm getting tired. Steven's probably getting tired though, and then we either gonna watch some shows or get back to our Switch twos though. So Steven, let the fine people know where they can find you at, so we can go ahead and call it a night.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at Steven Jr. 1231. I will be posting some Switch 2 clips as I get mad about Mario Kart and post about it.
Hey, at least
Like any
the sharing feature is better on the app
oh
now. Like
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the
I
fact that it
so
automatically goes to your phone, like PlayStation stuff. Gosh, we didn't even mention about that, but that's a miracle. Oh
it is, and you can choose it. You can choose so it automatically uploads if you'd like, which is nice. It's a nice feature. I like that. Besides that though, yeah, Twitter is there, and then I also do a collab channel with some friends called Spaghetti Disco on YouTube. We might be uploading more with Switch Two on the horizon.
yeah. All right. All right, well, that's truly going to do it in terms of this one episode of my ZardCast podcast, episode 105. Though, so if you really like this podcast, then make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related. I feel like talking about and discussing. If you happen to be one of my audio only listeners and happen to be listening to this somewhere on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, yes, you can listen to me in the car, then feel free to go ahead and hit that like button on the respective show you might be watching this on and just leave a little short review. Just let people know we're just a couple dudes that just love talking about anything gamer related, pop culture related, and anything else in between, though. But that's truly going to do it in terms of this one episode right here, though. So remember, y'all, until our video I make next, until my next Zarcast episode 106, I'll see y'all later.